Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Virtue's Last Reward. So we had a interesting ending that would have been a lock, except for the fact that it literally told you the answer in playing it the first time. So unlike these other locks where seemingly you would have had to have gotten either a dead end or a character's end to unlock them and have them be open books instead of closed books like this one just wanted you to get a game over screen and jump back. And I imagine that's the only time that's going to happen. Otherwise, we are, particularly in this road, doing about the same thing. Quark has been diagnosed with Radical 6. Alice was diagnosed and we were able to save her life, where in some timelines we weren't able to save her life, for her, stop her from committing suicide. Um, in this branch, there was a lot more recognition of us remembering other timelines. It's fairly obvious that this is probably the perfect end, but then there's something special, I think, about this too. Perhaps one of the codes for one of the bombs is hidden behind this end, perhaps not. I may very well have to just rewind uh, time and do this section again, because it might very well have been that I saw the code in the security room and then didn't write it down. We're about to vote. If we betray, probably perfect, quick dead end. Although, yeah, probably a quick dead end. If we ally, we might get somebody's ending, which I want to see somebody's ending for sure. Um, because we still haven't heard anything about Timoya. We still haven't heard anything about Kay. Um, Sigma and Phi may not really get endings. Let's see.
What are you going to do?
Well, with Luna,
And how are you going to vote?
if we betray, I think we kill somebody. No question. If Clover isn't voting, then she's defaulting the ally. Now, Clover said she wasn't voting, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Clover actually ran here and ran in and voted betray the same way Alice ran in and voted betray. I wouldn't be surprised if Alice also did that.
Of course, I think so too.
We still haven't gotten Luna's ending either,
I'm just glad to hear you say it.
which it's kind of not even within a normal Japanese story, in my opinion, to have such a sweet, sappy Japanese or female. Not, I don't think Luna's really Japanese, but that if they were going to have a, um, then she spoke.
Sigma, what's wrong with your hand?
Oh yeah, I also got stabbed with the scalpel when I was taken away from Alice. So yeah, I can't imagine that she's gonna turn into the psychotic Zero. If she is Zero Senior, she's doing it because of some crazy plan, and there is now indications that we've seen that the plan might literally be that we are affecting all of reality outside the world, based on our actions inside the world in some kind of Schrodinger's cat reverse box. Which, that idea is cool and all, but even in a video game format, I'm not sure they can explain it well enough for me to believe it. Huh?
There's something white on it.
There's what? What what the hell is this? Well, we also had a perverted path that we went through in the last recording, where we were paired up with Clover and Luna um, going into the archives. Well, apparently, we are going to be revealed that we do have a cybernetic arm, which makes a lot of stuff very confusing because that just means we potentially could cut off our arm at some point and stop the. I mean, if we could cut off our arm very, very fast uh, before Zero Junior injected me, then the injection wouldn't actually get into our bloodstream. But there are oddly veins in the cybernetic arm that does allow people to inject drugs into you, which honestly I don't know why you would ever bother to do that at all. It would just make a lot more sense to have people inject drugs in the other arm, or if you had two cybernetic arms, whatever part of the body wasn't cybernetic, and if it was a full cybernetic body with no human flesh at all, well, then an injection's unnecessary, probably. For the first time since I found Alice in the crew quarters, I looked down at my hand. So, did I perhaps change reality and jump to an alternate reality so strange that I have a cybernetic arm I didn't know about? Or is this the revelation that we are actually all robots? Or is this a revelation that something happened and they erased uh, Sigma's mind? Across the palm was some sort of strange white liquid. I don't think you go with white liquid, frankly. Um, the jokes write themselves, frankly. You could have easily picked a blue liquid, you could have picked a green liquid. Uh, any color other than red would not look like blood. For a moment, I thought I somehow had touched some white paint or something similar, but the truth was far stranger. The liquid was coming from my hand. So we flash back. It was from the cut I'd given myself when I grabbed the scalpel away from Alice. And I guess in none of the other timelines we had hurt ourselves or bled, which I guess would explain why we haven't seen this before. But why? Where was this? Where was the blood? I felt a very odd sort of fear beginning to wrap its hand around my throat. Quickly, I hid my palm against my chest. I shouldn't have let Luna see that.
Are you alright?
Yeah, it's nothing. I went to the pantry while I was looking for Alice. There was some milk, and I spilled it. It sounded even stupider as I said it.
Really?
Yeah.
But
Just shut up. It's fine, alright? I'm fine. Leave me alone. Now, Sigma yelling at Luna kind of sucks. And I guess if Luna really was Zero Senior, then why would she have even asked? Regretted the words the moments they were out of my mouth, but something was wrong, very wrong with and my head was spinning.
Sigma.
We may very well pass out and get another to be continued. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Just don't worry about it, okay? Gotta be careful not to jump too far ahead.
Seconds remain until polling closes.
They still are incredibly inconsistent about when they tell you how much time is left, the announcer does. And we've pretty much forgotten all about Radical 6 being a thing that affects other people and like speeds up or slows down uh, your perception. Because I figured that might have been a trick that they would have revealed, that the times were all wrong, and every time they said there was like 2 hours, it was actually uh, much less than 2 hours they were given. And the experiment might be just to see if people recognize the effects of Radical 6 or not. There's no time left. I had to vote. I turned to and faced the machine. I took a few deep breaths, but in the chaos of my mind refused to calm itself. Calm down. Just calm down. You need to think about the AB game right now. Just forget about your hand. Let's see, we're flashbacking again. Who was I kidding? There was no way I could forget about something like that. This would be funny if I literally get distracted and don't vote. And then all three of us die.
10 seconds remain until Ambidex Game polling closes. 9, 8,
I don't know how you get a branching path here though, if
4,
you don't vote.
2, 1.
Alright, so we'll take ally, even though that'll probably take us down the longer route first.
Round 2.
If we hit a lock, that should be fine. We can go do the other ending. And we may even have to do other endings of other lock sections before we can actually get all the way to this ending.
Results will be displayed in the warehouse. Thank you for your participation. Ambidex gates now opening.
It almost comes down to the question of how many people, not if some people are robots, how many people are robots. Could be everybody, easily. I think you probably would want to exclude Dio and Alice. Well, actually, we saw in one ending, and I kind of wish you had an ability to at least see the ending images. But we did see one ending where every other character died and bled. We've seen Dio do it. We've seen Kay bleed because there's blood around the axe in the time Kay died. We've seen Alice bleed many times. We've seen Clover, I think, bleed. So, yeah, it's just me and Phi at most. Luna and I stepped out of the AB room. I could see the others filing out their rooms as well.
So you chose ally after all.
This is basically the exact same line of dialogue you get every time you vote ally with Luna. Yeah. To be honest, AB game was the last thing on my mind. As chaotic as my thoughts were, they all centered around one thing: the mysterious white liquid.
Do you want to go see the results?
Sure. Luna nodded and walked off to the projection, but I couldn't move. I glanced around to make sure no one was watched and opened my hand. The liquid didn't seem to have clotted or run out, since it was still oozing thickly out of the slit in my hand. What the hell is this? In this case, I think using the word slit is probably the right term. It couldn't be blood, could it? No. That was impossible. Also, I guess Quark and Alice had both been scanned by an atom, and Sigma never has. So unless the atom is actually programmed to lie, or just not tell you about cybernetic arms, that may have been also a revelation. There is also a possibility, we're just going through everything now at this point, that even these secrets might be red herrings. That let's see, where is it? We saw it over here, cybernetic arm. This might literally just be a red herring. It also might be after that they directly talk about the 3 laws of robotics, which maybe means that this whole experiment might be that you are a robot and they're experimenting to see if you will follow the 3 laws, which that'd be kind of dull. No matter how many white blood cells clump together, you'd never get anything that looked like that, and I've never seen my blood do this before. In 22 years of life, I've seen my body bleed many times. Scraped knees as a kid, accidental nicks with a knife as an adult. But every single time I bled red like any other human being. So why was it that this time it was white? What the hell is happening to me?
Hey, Sigma, what are you doing? Get the hell over here.
And this is like the one time where somebody has called you over on the second round.
Show the results.
Yeah, right. On my way. I did my best to compose myself and headed over to join the others. So Dio was with Tenmoji, so either they worked together to betray, or they didn't betray, or Dio killed Tenmoji and betrayed. Yeah, killed Timoji in the AB room. Which you'd think that would have happened more often.
Of the Ambidex game will now be displayed.
It would have been very easy for any character to kill their partner, vote betray, get 9 points, and then run towards the 9 gate.
Please direct your attention to the results screen.
And I bet we never get below 4 of those images. So K and Phi, ally, they ally, and ally. So everybody allied in this case. Clover wasn't even there to vote. Which inherently this puts everyone within the path to have 9 points, with the exception of Alice and Timoji and I think we only have enough of the injection drug, if we found the injection drug, to let one person escape. And there's almost no way, unless everybody betrays in the next round, that somebody doesn't get 9 points. And if somebody gets 9 points, it's going to be extremely hard to convince them to wait. Because it would be a few more rounds, certainly, before you could get Alice and Timoji back all the way up to 9 points.
Points have been assigned or subtracted accordingly.
This is weird in particular because it's not surprising. Every other vote has had some twist to it.
To see your updated
It feels like some of the timelines should have been this boring and not surprising.
This is incredible. Look, everyone voted ally.
Yay.
You did just like you promised, Kay.
How could I choose betray after what Phi said to me?
Tenmyoji and Dio voted ally too.
Of course. If we hadn't, Alice would have died.
Yeah, well, that's about it, I guess.
We should thank the both of you as well. I'm happy to see you also chose ally.
So everybody's really happy
I
now.
didn't have anything to do with it. That was all Sigma.
Then thank you very much, Sigma.
And what's funny here is now you're gonna lose all that good faith you've created by voting ally as soon as they think you're a robot.
Sigma?
And you don't even really care. Dot dot dot.
Come on, what's wrong? Just say something.
Huh? Oh yeah, looks like we all allied. That's great.
Sigma, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, you've been acting a little out of it ever since we came out of the AB rooms. What happened? You make it past the Luna and get shot down?
No, nothing like that.
Man, it was a joke. You remember what that is? A joke? You're in pretty bad shape, huh?
Before Dio could continue, the heavy metal rumble of the doors shutting echoed throughout the warehouse. Or through the warehouse.
The Ambidex gates have closed.
In this timeline, we still have found a bomb.
3 of the
At least
Ambidex
one bomb.
will be the star round.
So there is still tension here.
Star keys are required to open the gates. There is no set limit
Same
on
dialogue.
usage of the star keys. The Ambidex gates
And it's going to be kind of silly if
as many times as the
I
players wish to
spend
open them.
a major amount of this flow just going through like novel sections trying to hide the fact that I may have a cybernetic arm.
We can open the gates as many times as we want to. Then that means
We can play the AB game as many times as we like, right?
Hey, Zero Jr. said something about this, didn't he?
Same old dialogue.
yeah. Right. Sorry to be a pain, but could you all show me your bracelets?
What's funny here is I may refuse to show my bracelet, and that might cause suspicion, or they may just see the blood and the white oil, and that causes suspicion.
I want to see what all your colors and assignments are.
I feel like a lot of these conversations where you just have the same conversation in a different timeline could have been chopped up to just memories of other timelines. If the game had very, very early said, you're just going to have memories of other timelines, so instead of you having to sit through a long conversation for the 5th, 6th time, why don't we just let you skip it? Or why don't we don't even ask and we make you skip it? There's definitely content here that if the game forced me to not experience that content multiple times, I would have been very happy with that. Everyone nodded and held their arms out toward him. I stared at them, terrified to follow suit, but certain that refusing would only draw more suspicion, so I held my arm out, hand tightened into a white-knuckled fist to hide the cut. That when their eyes laid on my hands, my heart skipped a beat.
So Dio and Kay are a yellow pair. Luna and I are both pairs, but our colors are different.
Right. You're a cyan, and I'm magenta.
That makes Sigma the only solo, huh? A red solo. So what are the 4 we left in the infirmary?
Luna and I are pairs, so 2 of them are our partners.
That means the other 2 are solos. Although, I guess we don't know what colors they are.
They're probably green and blue.
Why's that?
Didn't you see them? There are a bunch of white doors in the floor B
Same
warehouse.
old
They
dialogue.
have to be the next set of
Let's
chromatic
hurry through
doors.
this.
Ah, yes. Phi and I saw them as well, on our way back from the garden with the unconscious Quark. And there they were.
Yeah, in the scenarios where Quark passes out or gets infected with Radical 6,
Each one had a box
and
just
then
like the doors on
Alice
floor A.
immediately gets infected with Radical 6, they kind of forget about Quark completely.
Given that, I don't
In
see
fact,
how they
they
can be
still are forgetting about Quark as a character seemingly 7 out of 10 times.
Those white doors are our next set of chromatic doors.
I think that our bracelet combinations will have to add up to white in order to open the secondary doors. The pairs are cyan, magenta, and yellow. You see?
Yeah. If we need to make white, then the other 3 colors would have to be red, green, and blue.
Right.
Good. Now that we've got that figured out, I'm heading back to the infirmary for a bit. I want to check up on Quark and Alice.
I shall accompany you then.
Might as well go with you, I guess. No real reason to hang out here.
Well, what will you 2 do?
I need to talk to Sigma about something.
So Luna's gonna have a conversation and address your hand almost certainly. About what?
Something?
Her usual pleasant expression had been replaced with something much more sullen. She must have noticed that there was something wrong with me. That's what she wanted to talk about. I was sure of it. Okay, fine. Managed to make my voice sound almost relaxed.
Whoa, hold on. A private talk? What are you guys plotting?
We're not plotting anything. I promise. It's nothing.
Fine, whatever. See if I care.
Dio tossed his head with a mixture of arrogance and feigned disinterest and marched out the yellow door. That's another great example of Dio as a character kind of being a jerk and countering his own mission objectives when he could certainly have just been the nice guy and focus on his final goal, which is, I suppose, to blow up the building. Timoji and Kay quickly followed. In only moments, all 3 had disappeared. Dot 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 dot. Still don't like the spinning cursor in this game either, but it's not been anywhere as big of a distraction as, say, Alice being topless through the whole game, so I've not really focused on it that much. So, what is it you wanted to talk about? I was almost certain I knew, but there was always hope. I did my best to act as if I was genuinely confused.
Oh, I don't really like this room. Could we go somewhere else?
Okay.
Good. I found somewhere nice when I was looking for Alice earlier.
As strange as her request was, I had no reason to object. I kept my mouth shut and followed Luna as she headed off. She gonna take me to the Golem Bay? Nope, she took me all the way to the garden.
You know this place?
Yes, well, sort of. I came here once when I was looking for Alice.
Oh, I see.
Did I? I don't believe I did. So, what brings you here?
Isn't this nice?
I don't believe in this timeline I actually did go to the garden. I think I ran from the lounge directly to the crew quarters.
This is the only place in the whole facility with anything green. I feel kind of silly saying it, but it makes me think of the great outdoors. I think it's the perfect place for a serious conversation. Being surrounded by nature makes me feel happy. Oh, there's a bench over there.
So they are actually going to use the
Would
bench
you like to sit down with me?
and have a romantic conversation or romantic setting. She sat down softly, gently, and I lowered myself down next to her. And here we have another stationary, flat, maybe we'll get 3 frames of animation, but maybe we won't, image from the side of Luna, which it's not good. I suppose if I wanted to know how she was braiding her hair, which that is a awkward looking braid for sure, I'm getting that perspective, but overall it's just another image that is very low polygon and it's not framed well. I don't want to see blurry plants and rocks in the background that take up 80% of the image, and I don't want to see half of Luna's face. Instead of answering, Luna lifted the tiny birdcage pendant she wore into the palm of her hand. She was silent for a moment and then began to talk.
Can I tell you something?
Okay.
This is actually a music box.
It's actually, if it was a music box, it would be fairly high technology. Because the gears for a music box would require more space than a necklace would hold. Really?
Yes.
You could get a digital one, certainly, and squeeze it into that technology. She twisted the key at the bottom, and it made an almost imperceptible winding noise. Here we have some sound effects I paid for. But it feels like this music could have easily been reused, at least in the credits of the game. She released it, soft, clear notes drifting out. Also, you could have had this music, say, playing when you first woke up as a red herring. I bet it doesn't go a full length of a song. I bet it just ends fairly quickly. It's a nice song. I suppose the real test here would be to just wait a really long time and see if the music keeps playing. Why'd you bring that up, though?
Because I wanted you to know, I guess. I wanted you to know more about me.
Finally. Luna's been nice to you in every timeline and not told you really anything about her.
Maybe it's because I'm so shy, but I don't really have any friends. Or even any acquaintances, really. So I've sort of always been alone. It was really hard. I felt so lonely a lot of the time. And it hurt. It felt like I was just kind of going to collapse from the inside out. That was when I got this music box.
So there's the music stopping. I feel like she's... Yeah, and it just starts over again. I feel like she's gonna confide in you so you confide in her.
Someone very important gave it to me. They didn't say anything, but I felt like there was an unspoken message behind it. Luna, happiness is closer than you think. Do you know Maeterlinck's The Bluebird?
And see, this image is fine, so I don't know why they didn't just use this image always instead of trying to do a side profile image. Yeah, well, I know the gist of it. I think it starts on Christmas Eve. This brother and sister named Teetle and Meetle get asked to find a bluebird by this old woman, and they travel to the dream world. I have no idea about this story. I've never heard of it. It might very well be a Japanese story that's being translated literally to the English versions, or this could be one of those Eastern European, Mid European old Hans Christian Andersen style stories that I've just not heard of, or something. Anyways, supposedly, if you can catch this bird, you can make a wish come true. So they visit all these different places, but they can't find it. Eventually, they give up and go home. But when they wake up, the bird is in a bird cage in their
That's
hut.
right. It's a well-known story,
I would disagree.
and it teaches a simple lesson.
Yeah, like you said, happiness is closer than you think.
Right. It got me thinking. Maybe the person who gave me this music box was trying to tell me just that.
Are we even going to get told who this person is? I'd also say there's a mistake that gets compounded in this scene, particularly, in the fact that this botanical garden is the only place where they have the ambient noise of a waterfall playing. Every other room pretty much doesn't make any noise as far as I could tell. I mean, if they were making any kind of background sounds, it was very, very subtle, where the waterfall is not subtle. So had the waterfall noise not played, this scene would be better. Had they been in a different position, different place that wasn't the botanical garden, this might also play the same way. Although it would have been just very easy to have the waterfall be turned off in every scenario and timeline by the time this happens, and that would have been very believable. And then the sound wouldn't play that way.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe all of this is just in my head, but I really felt like that was what they meant. It was so kind. I kept it with me all the time, like a kind of good luck charm. But one day I realized something. There was another meaning to the bluebird. In Maeterlinck's original story, it doesn't end with them waking up.
I guess what they were thinking is that they needed two poses to toggle through. And so we've got the side profile and then looking onward. There's more?
Yes. When Til and Nittil try to feed the bird, it leaves the cage and flies away. And then the story ends.
Whoa. What about the moral then?
It changes. Now the message is that just when you think you found happiness, you'll lose it again. I thought about that for a while, but in the end, it didn't change how I felt. I don't know what they intended it to mean when they gave it to me, but I decided how I was going to look at it. It means that happiness is something you should always be looking for, and it's only when you're pursuing happiness that you're truly happy.
Yeah. This is an odd line of conversation to go through, considering how every other story really hasn't been about opinions or morals so much. I could have definitely seen a better writer have that story happen. If there was a way to make Dio like relatable in any way as a religious fanatic, maybe that would make sense. If there was a way to show Clover as a person who is all about loyalty, maybe that would make sense. If we showed Alice as someone who's all about revenge or family obligation, maybe that would make sense. But they really haven't done that. We've not gotten stories that tried to develop the characters as characters. In fact, all the characters have been mostly paper thin. Kay in particular, and Amnesiac is totally paper thin. So to have one conversation like this seems weird, and it almost beckons the question: is this just the writer's self-insertion of his own personal perspective on the world, instead of giving Luna a reason for being in this
You know, Sigma,
Nonary game in the first place?
I think you might be Tiltil.
Yeah, there is a real question as far as why Luna would be in the Nonary game, since she has been completely passive in everything. What?
You know, the boy who the old lady asked to find the bluebird on Christmas Eve.
What are you trying to say?
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Where did you find Alice?
Where did I find Alice? What does that have to do with anything?
Just answer me.
So maybe Luna is starting to have her own memories.
Where did you find Alice?
Room 2 in the crew quarters.
Where were you before that?
I was in the lounge. That was after we'd split up to go look for Alice. First place I went was the lounge.
So you went from the lounge to the crew quarters.
Yep.
You found Alice.
So I lied. And either Luna's now not going to trust me and think I'm Zero, or she knows about the different timelines, or is figuring it out.
And then you rushed her to the infirmary, right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me this then. How do you know about the garden? Just now you said you'd come here when you were looking for Alice, didn't you?
So now we have the dangerous music playing.
Doesn't make any sense. There wouldn't have been any time for you to visit the garden while you were looking for Alice. So tell me, Sigma, how do you know about this place?
Well, I didn't know what to say. I couldn't even explain it to myself. Why had I told her I knew about the garden? Why had I told her that I'd been there before?
Sigma, are you a robot? Have you always been here?
Maybe. She's it's crazy that Luna might be able to figure this out. And maybe that is her medical license, is that she works on robots and puts the tissue on robots. That might explain it. Oh, what?
See, it would make so much sense if you were. That would explain why you knew about the garden, and it would explain that cut on your left hand.
Damn, so you did see it, huh?
Yes. I've been told that robots these days have what's called artificial biological tissue, or ABT, on top of a metal skeleton. It makes them look almost exactly like a human. And ABT uses this white liquid instead of blood.
There's an artificial blood that actually exists, synthetic blood that is all white. Last time I saw it, I'm a little surprised it hasn't been adopted more because it was announced several years ago, but I guess they're just still testing it, and it holds a considerably higher amount of oxygen, so it might very well be a case of the balance being too high on it. For some reason, when Luna had called me a robot, it hadn't really fazed me. Maybe because it was just so out there. I didn't sound like a real possibility. It sounded more like a theory you'd get from someone in a nut house. Still, my hand was still oozing white liquid. Was I really a robot? No, that was impossible. I needed to stop doing that, questioning myself so much that it was giving me heart palpitations. Luna, aren't you a little scared?
Scared? Why would I be scared?
Well, let's say I am a robot. That means there's a pretty good chance Zero's pulling my strings. That would make me your enemy.
I guess so. Well, even if you were, I wouldn't be scared.
Why not?
Maybe because you're a robot.
Huh?
Have you ever heard of the 3 laws of robotics? They were a set of rules created by the science fiction author Isaac Asimov.
And see, now we're
that he
just
used in
getting
several of his stories.
more red herring story parts of the story. Rule 1. And it almost makes you wonder if the reason why we talked to the golem in a timeline a long, long time ago was simply because they wanted this one image of a robot to use later. But I don't know if I would believe that. Because having this image just to do this flashback seems ridiculous. I'm going to just go ahead and skip through all of this, and you can pause now if you want to read the rules of robotics. Oh yeah, I've heard of those before. It's just an ideal, though. You could work toward that, but I don't think you could ever actually achieve it. I mean, depending on how you program them, robots could do pretty much whatever they wanted to.
Yes, you're right. But I believe in them. In you. However you're programmed, I don't think you'd break any of the 3 laws.
It almost begs the question, does Luna have perhaps a fantasy / fetish for a robot instead of a real human, considering how she's seemingly always alone based on her own
A
actions?
robot without the 3 laws is just a bunch of metal and plastic. That's not you. You have a heart. You're a good person. It's in your eyes.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just kind of assuming you're a robot. There's still a chance you're not. We should run some tests.
Tests. How?
The atom should be able to tell us.
Oh yeah, that thing in the infirmary. I heard the cruncher dried leaves behind us. But when I turned around, there was nothing. Who is it?
Is someone there?
Just me.
Spy.
Sorry, but can you guys come over here? I need you to see something.
So we're gonna find the other bomb. Luna and I looked over at one another and shrugged and stepped into the bushes.
Welcome.
What? How long have you been here?
Just got here a little while ago.
Did you hear what we were saying?
No. Were you talking about something you didn't want me to know about? Whatever. Just have a look at this.
I followed the line of her finger. It is bomb number 1. Boop. This is.
Antimatter bomb.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure someone didn't move it here from the crew quarters. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's an entirely different bomb. Look at the number on the side.
Says 01.
And the one in the crew quarters said 3, right?
It is believable you could have the bomb say 01 on one side of the band and 03 on the other, and then just rotate it around.
Then that must mean...
Poop. Then there's no question,
I
huh?
got more good news. Just think about the numbers for a moment.
You're saying there's a 2 bomb out there somewhere?
Can't be sure, but it does seem pretty likely.
We still don't have the code for the 2 bomb. So we're dealing with a combined explosive power equal to 3 tons of
Yeah.
TNT.
Who planted them?
Was it you guys? I mean, you've been in here quite a while.
Hey, don't give me that. You're way more suspicious than we are. What were you doing in the bushes anyway?
Well, I was taking a walk.
Taking a walk. You really think I'm gonna buy that?
Fine. You got me. I heard you two were off talking in secret, so I got curious and went back to the Floor A warehouse. Of course, you weren't there. That seemed pretty suspicious to me, so I headed here. And just as I'd suspected, there you were, talking on the bench.
So is Fi jealous, or is she trying to... or is she really suspicious?
I snuck up from behind so you wouldn't notice me. Then, just as I was getting close enough to hear, I found the bomb. So, believe me now?
So who planted the bomb?
Honestly, it could have been any one of us. Anybody could have come here while we were all looking for Alice.
We need to
Once
tell
again.
everyone about this then.
that's the case, but we know it's Dio, so unless there's multiple people that are working with Dio. Yeah, you're right. Let's head back to the infirmary. Everyone else was already there when we arrived. Clover and Tomoji is still alive. Kay and Dio. Alice is still asleep. Quark is still asleep. They never found the dead lady. You never think to look at them that they'd been completely insane not so long ago. Alright, everybody, listen up. I told them how we found the number 1 bomb in the garden, and how, judging by the numbering on the 2 bombs we found so far, there was probably a number 2 bomb out there somewhere, too.
Oh, this is bad. What are we going to do?
Well, I think Alice mentioned something.
There should be an emergency deactivation password.
Yeah, and we in this case didn't go to the control room, so we don't have the password input device.
Enter that password, the device should, well, deactivate.
So even if we were to get a password, it wouldn't matter, probably.
You see it right
We'll
here.
just have to write
It's
it down in the memo and use it in a different timeline.
We can find the password input device. We just connected here. Then we can enter the password.
So if we have the password, we can deactivate them?
Oh, whoa, hold on a second. That's great and all, but we need that password input device she was talking about.
So Dio, once again, is probably should just stay silent completely. But we know there's more story here.
Without that, we're still
So we're gonna have to rush through all this.
Yeah. That's why I want all of you to let me search you.
I beg your pardon?
You
Interesting.
heard me. Chances are whoever planted those bombs is in this room. There's also a good chance they've also got the device we need to deactivate the bombs.
So you're planning to search us for it?
Exactly.
But
No buts. If you refuse, then I'll assume it's because you've got it and you planted the bombs.
See, I don't know
Unless
how
you
this
want
is gonna
that,
go that
I
way.
suggest you cooperate. Clear? Good. Now who's going to be first?
Interesting. So maybe Phi will search Sigma, see his arm, and then that will cause a distraction. Yeah, obviously the 2 sleeping people are not going to volunteer. Wait. Huh? You only need to search one person.
Why?
Because I figured out who did it. I know who did it. So, once again, in this, because we've just gotten a certain level of completion done here, they're just going to skip the searching of other people and go straight to Dio, which, okay, but I feel like you almost are missing something because she's not searching the other characters. The words were out of my mouth before I'd even realized I was saying
How
them.
can you? There's no way.
Yeah. I met Phi's gaze and nodded, then turned away. I know who set the bombs. That person. But see, we've seen this timeline where we've accused is you, Dio.
Come on, what is this? Are you high?
And see, I feel like there's a better way to trick Dio, certainly, or get close to him to grab him. Well, we're about to find out. Sorry, Kay, but could you hold him down?
Well,
It's on him, I promise.
Get off, Sigma. You're doing this all backwards.
So this isn't a court. Besides, all we need to know is who set the bombs. And why are you getting so worked up anyway? If you're innocent, then a search will show you that I look like an idiot.
That's some bullshit. You even base
Let's go ahead and skip more of this because we've seen this. Because I know about the Myrmidons.
I beg your
But see, you do this whole talk, and that just gives them more time
How do you know that,
to
Sigma?
to buy time.
What the hell are you talking about?
And the only real difference here is in this timeline, your hand is cut and leaking oil, so if you grab him, maybe your grip will slip. But there's no question that, unless he remembers this time to tell him, don't take the activator away from him, because it will set the timers.
Who the fuck do you think you are? None of that has anything to do with me. I don't know who the Myrmidons are. And I don't know what Free the Soul is. And I certainly don't know anything about some old fart called brother.
This is all still the same dialogue.
Wait, so he's left. But that means he's
A terrorist?
Oh dear.
Let's keep on skipping. Left question mark.
Well, looks like seriously though. When did we get so famous? The Myrmidons aren't supposed to be something anybody knows about.
I wonder if perhaps part of this AB project, whatever it really is, something that might change the reality of all of the world outside, maybe part of that, maybe his goal is that he gets the 9 points and escapes, not just to send a signal to say he succeeded, but also to ensure that nobody else escapes and changes the world, or perhaps in the fact that he does escape, he does somehow change the world.
Okay, you got me. Yes, I'm the leader of the Myrmidons. My real name is Left. I was sent here to stop Zero Senior's AB plan. That's why I planted the bombs. If it looked like the plan might actually succeed, I was supposed to blow this whole place sky high.
AB plan.
what's that?
Well, looks like you don't know everything after all. I should have been more careful. Then again, it's not like it really matters. After all, you're gonna die here.
What?
No. I leapt towards him.
Whoa there. Better not come any closer.
See, and last time it was Tenmoji that was able to distract him and punch him, and then he dropped the activator.
You think I'm not prepared for this? Take one step and it'll be your last.
Then that thing you're holding.
It's the detonator.
Yeah, I guess it is. Now back the fuck off.
Dio, please calm down. If you press that button, you'll die too.
So? Believe me,
Just
there's
go
plenty
through
more
all
where that
this
came
text.
from.
What?
We've cleared that up. Back off.
It's funny he's saying what there, because we have already seen the timeline where we know he's a clone.
Come on, move it. Go, go, go.
We had no choice. Slowly, carefully, we backed away. All of us except for one, Tenmoji.
Hey, Grandpa, your hearing gone? I said back off.
No.
You. I'm not
He's
screwing
right
around
next
here.
to the door, by the way, so he could easily just walk through the door.
I can see that.
And then you run through the door, you can potentially run through this whole facility and hide,
So why don't you do it? Go ahead. Press that button.
or at least get yourself some space. What?
Miyuchi!
And see, this creates a problem where unless we can handcuff him or something, he is going to have 9 points and have really no reason not to escape at that point.
Something wrong? Hurry it up. I'm not getting any younger. Oh, do I sense hesitation? What's the matter, Dio? Scared? Well,
You son of a bitch.
so you were just bluffing.
Not bluffing, goddammit. You hear me? I'll do it.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
And see, Sigma's not saying anything here to stop Tenmoji, so it's just going to happen the same way.
Tell you. See that detonator you're holding? It's a fake.
What?
For just an instant, Dio's eyes twitched down, and to the device in his hand. That was all the opening Timoji needed. He cried out as he leapt through the air. Timoji's leg shot out, knocking the detonator from Dio's hand. Boop. Not good.
What happened?
The detonator. He doesn't have it anymore.
What's happening? There's a red light on it now.
So unless we get a bomb code from him in this timeline feels like it is oddly just a rerun of another timeline. Let's see. Who planted the bomb? We couldn't have gotten that far. And that's number 7. Which I guess we just wouldn't have gone any further if we didn't know that.
Oh, you really fucked up, Tenmyoji. This is what happens when you try to show off.
What?
The numbering of the locks actually doesn't seem to coincide with the actual chronological order in which you would need to unlock the locks. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I didn't have time to tell you guys how it worked.
What are you saying?
The detonator isn't supposed to be separated from Dio. If it is, the timer on the bombs automatically activate.
Damn, how much do you know? Fine, whatever. Well, he's right. If that thing ever gets more than a meter, when it does, it starts the timers on all the bombs. So thanks to this old fart, you get to try and defuse a bunch of activated bombs on a countdown.
A interesting question certainly here is, why at this point is Zero Jr. not in the stepping in? It would be very, very easy for the second him to take out the detonator, for Zero Jr. to activate the bracelet and kill him. That is Zero Jr. perhaps shut down at some point? Did somebody sneak off? Or did Dio sneak off and shut down Zero Jr.? Is Zero Jr. not actually capable of activating the bracelets at all? If that's the case, then that means there's all kinds of cheating ways you could have potentially take the bracelets off. Or is there something special about the bracelet that Dio is wearing where he's got it designed or installed in a way that it actually won't inject him ever?
You can go ahead and destroy the detonator if you want. Once the timers have been activated, they'll go off anyway.
I get the idea that Zero Jr. would let Dio play along in the Nonary game up until a point, but when he's threatening to blow up the entire facility, you'd think that would be breaking the rules, or just something that Zero Jr. couldn't follow, couldn't abide.
How long do we have? When do they explode?
You should know, Sigma. Why don't you tell her?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? That's crazy!
Same old dialogue.
Stop them.
Emergency deactivation passwords.
None of us know them, though.
Right, none of us know. But there's someone who does, isn't there?
Okay. I'll give you one, since I'm such a swell guy.
And see, this is a different timeline, because in the previous instance, he didn't give you one.
The password for bomb number 2 is
Okay.
EQD DYR NTK.
So, number 2. E Q, still fairly difficult to draw this with the mouse. EQD DYR DYR. Just saw a visual glitch, which I guess that means some of these visual glitches probably are not NTK. They probably aren't intentional. I completely just forgot it. NTK. TK. But there would be kind of no good reason to go into the flow and go back to over here to input the password for that one, since I still know that there's some other bombs to input. I wouldn't be surprised if there actually is a bomb 0 and then maybe a bomb 4, bomb 5, bomb 6, bomb 7, bomb 8. As if there was like 9 bombs in the entire game, and we somehow had to get even more passwords. That seems crazy to do that, but
Bomb number 2.
But we haven't found that one yet.
and I guess that's why he gave her that code.
Well, my mistake. Must have slipped my mind. Well, there's nothing you could do anyway. You don't have the input device. Really, it'll be much easier if you all just give up.
Where's the input device?
Gosh, I wonder.
Where did you put the number 2 bomb?
Shoot, you know, I just can't remember.
SOB.
Anyway, I think it's time for me to be moving on.
Moving on.
To where?
What? I have to explain everything? To the next world, of course.
No, wait. I threw myself toward Dio and wrapped my hand around his wrist, slamming it to the floor. He struggled, but I put all my weight to keep his arm pinned. So we're just showing this scene again, although I don't know if it really even matters. So, assuming nothing happens here, and nothing different happens here, we're going to literally just end up super willing him. My bleeding hand would be on his back.
I'm not fucking around, all right? Let go of my goddamn arm.
By then, the other hand had run over and piled on Dio with me. Even then, he refused to stop. With increasing desperation, he tried to get the hand I had grabbed to his mouth.
We don't have a choice. Luna, go get the soparil.
No, if we put him to sleep, we can't get what we need out of
You
him.
think I don't know that? What other choice do we have? Every minute we spend wrestling this prick is a minute we don't have to deal with those bombs. We don't have time for this.
Arg.
What are
Poop.
you doing, Luna? Go!
Right.
Then we inject them.
Okay, I've got it. I'm ready when you are.
You can do whatever you want to me, you fucking cowards. You're still gonna die. Go ahead. Tell yourselves you can fix it. Run around like idiots before you get blown to atoms. Serves you fucking right. You're gonna burn.
Oh, for God's sake. Luna, shut him up.
As the story is going further on, I'm starting to recognize there's just an excessive amount of cussing in this game, which at a certain point you stop calling that a localization or a direct, like a poor localization / censorship / translation job, and you just have to call it a almost fetish for cussing. And in this case, when she injects it, the bottle goes empty too. I don't know why they bothered to animate that in 2 different places just to show that it actually works. There clearly is something more we're going to realize here. As I began to climb off of him, I finally pried Dio's hand open. There it was, just as expected. A small, unassuming capsule. I didn't know what was in it exactly, but it was undoubtedly some kind of poison. I stumbled toward the sink and tossed it into the drain. How much time do we have left?
About 20 minutes or so, I think.
And how much time until the white doors open?
20 minutes.
So, what do we do?
I still think my plan of grabbing each of the bombs and hoping they don't explode when you try and move them, and getting everybody in the either AB rooms or getting them somewhere as far away as possible as those bombs might be. move the bombs as far away from the control room as possible, or get everybody to run through the 9 door, although in this case nobody has 9 points, so you couldn't really do that. Or open the 9 door and throw the bombs on the other side of the 9 door. We put in those passwords and select the bombs.
But he doesn't have anything that might be the input device.
Well, only one thing to do then.
And that is?
We split up and find it. Unless any of you have another suggestion. A dismal silence filled the room. Even though no one spoke, I could see despair in every face.
Alright, no point sitting around. Until those things actually go off, we've still got a chance. Sigma, you come with me. I'm going to have to go look at the number 3 bomb. See if the timer really has started or not. All the rest of you, listen up. I want you to take Alice, Quark, and Dio to the Floor B warehouse.
What?
Why there?
Just listen. Worst case scenario, we'll open the white doors and go through them to wherever they go. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Understood. We will take them to the Floor B warehouse. Once we've done so, we will begin to search for the input device in the number 2 bomb.
Good. Thanks. Okay, we don't have much time left. Now get moving.
See,
Sigma,
and I feel like in this timeline, Phi is just gonna once again tell me to jump to a different timeline. Forgot to blink, sure it's gone. Give everyone else in the firm a quick thumbs up and a smile, shaky smile, and then hurried after her. And seemingly I'm not gonna figure out if I'm a robot or not. Unless Phi is gonna rip off my arm or something to prove whether or not I'm a robot or not. Or she's gonna potentially stab me in the other hand and to see if I bleed in that one.
The light's flashing. I guess the countdown has started. So, what are we going to do?
So this is a weird timeline where it feels like you definitely were supposed to have done this timeline before you did this timeline. So I don't know why they didn't just gate this timeline better so that you couldn't even get that far. I kind of know, because they wanted you to potentially be able to do this timeline and have like knowledge of 1 or 2 of, but not all 3 or 4 of the codes to the bombs. But yeah, we still have some things here.
Without a way to enter the passwords, we're screwed. Right. We'll just have to split up and look for it. I'll look around here. You go check somewhere else. If we
Okay.
get to T-minus 5 minutes, then we'll meet back in the Floor B warehouse. Got it?
So we just split up. I wasn't sure what to say. If we hadn't found it by then, was there really any point in meeting up again?
What's with that look? Don't worry. We'll figure it out, I promise.
See, and this is just basically the timeline that would have been the normal timeline version of this, where this timeline seems almost certainly derived from the fact that at some point you go through this one, which instead of making an argument for an alternate universe theory, it's almost making an argument for you're creating
You know what they
alternate
say,
universes
Swimsuits
based.
never quit.
Swimsuits never quit? What? No, that's not a thing. And it doesn't make any sense. Besides, why the hell are you cracking jokes right now?
Just, trying to show you that life is still worth living. After all, if you quit now, there goes any possibility of you ever seeing me in a swimsuit.
Apparently, we are going down the perverted path again. Oh, I see. Well, I admit it. I am a bit curious.
Looks like we're on the same page. Now get moving. We don't have time to stand around.
Fine. Be careful, alright? Yeah, there's a problem with me being a robot, because if I'm a robot, I am definitely a somewhat sexually active robot, in the sense that I am hitting on and fantasizing about some of these females. I checked the time on my bracelet and headed out to crew quarters into the hallway. It wasn't good news. Damn, only 15 minutes. Need to hurry. I broke into a run. I feel like you just run back to the infirmary. That's the real move. Before long, I found myself in front of the infirmary. All too often, what you're looking for is right in front of you. We spent a lot of time in the infirmary, so it seemed kind of fitting somehow that it might have been there all along, or maybe Dio had dropped it there recently. There's no way to know. Well, in any event, I had to start looking somewhere. Could Sigma run the atom by himself? Or does he need Luna to scan him? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Luna's here. Luna, you're still here?
The others are taking the people who are asleep to the white doors. I chose to stay here. I thought you might come back.
Why?
Because the atom is here. I thought you might want to use it. Isn't that why you're here?
What? I mean, yeah, I want to know what's going on with me. It's driving me nuts. Now I feel sick. But this isn't the time for that. Being a robot isn't going to mean a lot if I die anyway. This is going to be crazy when we find out that the zero bomb is in my chest and I am a robot. That would be the real crazy reveal. So potentially any point in which I escape or people escape with me, I blow them up.
Oh, why did you come here then?
Isn't that obvious? I'm trying to find the input thing so we can turn off the bombs.
Really?
Yeah. Why would I lie?
I see. I seem to have made a mistake. I knew you couldn't use the atom without me. So I stayed behind because I thought I might be able to help. I guess I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
She just leaves. That's weird. She turned and headed toward the exit. She's walking fairly slowly. Wait. I couldn't just let her leave like that. I sighed. How long would it take?
Not more than 5 minutes or so.
Are you sure? Only 5 minutes? Yes. Okay, let's do it. Analyze my body. Once again, that sounds probably more perverted than it should, and I think they did that intentionally. And I guess they animated this image multiple times so that the foreground character's clothing is different between Quark, Alice, and Sigma. I lay down on the table. Luna picked up the atom scanner and began to run it across me slowly and methodically. In a few minutes, she was finished.
That's it. You can get up now.
It would have made a lot of sense to scan everybody as soon as Quark was infected, and then particularly when they knew Alice was also infected, it would have made plenty of sense to scan everybody and go, hey, let's see if we're all infected with Radical 6. And at that point, you would have figured out he has a robotic arm or is a robot. I sat up and hopped off the table. The screen was already starting to show my results. So, what does it say? My eyes were glued to her face, looking for any sign of what the answer might be. She started to read it out for several long seconds before replying.
Well, it says you're not a robot.
Interesting sound effect that only plays for a few seconds.
You're human.
Okay. A lot of breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. My relief didn't last long.
But your body isn't entirely human.
What?
You're part machine.
What? What are you
Look
saying?
here. The structure of the bones in your arms isn't anything close to human.
So why are my arms specifically cybernetic? Oh, well, I guess the bigger question is, if I have cybernetic arms, and Luna and Phi has cybernetic legs, let's just assume she does, and perhaps something about the time jumping alternate realities is the cybernetic limbs. Or perhaps this is all just a test to test out cybernetic limbs on people. Does that mean that somebody might have a cybernetic chest or waist or like pelvis or head? It'd be really hard for a character to show they had a cybernetic chest or pelvis or head. It would not make sense that Alice has a cybernetic chest for sure.
They're made out of a titanium alloy. On top of that skeleton is artificial biological tissue. It's also called ABT.
Yeah, that ABT might be the thing that's letting them see other timelines.
Their arms are cybernetic.
What does that mean?
Cybernetic? It means a mechanical system that interfaces with a biological one. You see all these root-like things around the titanium bones?
I have to say here, there's something very, very annoying with this revelation in the fact that I have been completely trying to force open doors with cybernetic arms throughout every timeline, every escape room. You've seen him try and force a door, and he has failed miserably. So, who created cybernetic arms that literally aren't any stronger than human arms? Was there some kind of law around this idea that you couldn't make them stronger? Or what? Because that sounds like a just huge waste of opportunity.
Those are artificial nerves. They're probably connected to your own nerves, which is how you can move your arms. I imagine they allow you to feel things through your arms too.
What? No, this is ridiculous. I think replacing my arms with the robot ones is something I'd remember. And I know they weren't always like this. When I was a kid, I broke my arm, and they took an x-ray of it. The doctor told me I had really thick bones, that I must have done something pretty insane to break them. When the hell did this happen? Why did somebody replace my arms? Wait. Okay. Let's say you're right and my arms are cybernetic. Wouldn't that mean I don't have to worry about the bracelet going off?
No. Unfortunately, you probably do still have to worry about that.
Why?
The cybernetic arms are made to function just like real arms, which means they
Sadly.
interface with the rest of your body.
Yeah, and they also seem to be made to not be stronger than any normal pair of arms.
Which means that anything injected into them is spread to the rest of your body.
How do you know that?
Just do.
That's not an answer.
Yes, you're right. But not everything has an answer. There are some things you just can't explain.
See, this does seem like a timeline where Luna is starting to remember other timelines. Which, does that mean she has like cybernetic eyes or something? What?
Do you know how that feels? How did you know about the garden? How did you know that Dio planted the bombs?
That's
I'm sorry, Sigma. I wish we could talk some more, but our time is up.
time. I pressed the buttons on my bracelet and felt my stomach drop. 1 minute. We've only got 1 minute left.
Sigma, there's one last thing. I was given very specific instructions.
Interesting. Are we gonna get the reveal here? I shuddered. Not because I was scared of what was about to happen, because I was scared of Luna. She was calm, unnaturally so, like a machine with a human face. We were about to die. How could she be so calm?
Please pay attention.
Ah, so is Luna a robot?
This is very important.
Okay.
You must be sure to remember it.
Okay. Remember? I was about to die. How was I supposed to remember anything?
Should you encounter a two-headed lion devouring the sun, remember.
Alright, we're gonna have to make a memo almost certainly here.
GTF BM L016.
Alright. G T F dash DM dash DM dash L dash 016. See. 0 1 6. This is letters and numbers, so I'm gonna put a 0 slash to it, and that's, let's see, 2 headed I can't even spell that right. 2-headed lion. So that's probably the login code. Where we're getting this login code from, I don't know. And it does definitely feel weird that we're basically being told that Luna is a robot at the very end, as she's proving I'm not a robot.
With this key, the first gate shall be open to you.
First gate shall be open to
There
you.
you go. I hope we can meet again someday. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
What? Before she could answer, the world exploded into noise and light, and I disappeared along with it. When I came to, I was floating in a field of nothingness. Once again, very gray, white light on that text. I don't know why. I'm not willing to really exit out of the game. But oddly, this seems like we are getting credits this way, this time. But the credits aren't playing. Nor did we get a game over. So I'm just going to hit A. That is the Sigma end. I thought that might be the Luna end, actually. Okay, well. So we now know that the good end is probably to the furthest to the right. Interesting that in this one section you get to see Sigma's face, and maybe in a flashback or two you get to see Sigma's face, but you don't get to see it really in any other time. It's going to be real easy to jump here and just do the betray. And we're going to have to really figure out
2 minutes remain until
what the deal with the
Ambidex
gates are,
polling closes.
and why Luna still doesn't really have any backstory.
What are you going to do? I mean, how? Of course, I think so. I'm just glad to hear you.
So there is also a problem, though. If they're going to say Luna is a robot, she's probably the most
Sigma,
emotional,
there's something
like human-like character that we see. So we're gonna have to jump through all this. Still. And I doubt there's gonna be any difference. Like, unless, because I've gotten the Sigma end, I already know about my cybernetic arms. I bet I don't.
Really? But
So we're just gonna
Sigma.
try and jump through all this as quickly as possible.
30 seconds.
Because I'm hoping none of it's changed. And I imagine we're just going to get a bad end because I'll have like 10, I'll have 9 points, I think, if I betray here. And the only reason logically I would have betrayed in this point is because I was so freaked out by
10
the
seconds remain until
fluid,
9,
which they don't give a name to, which is kind of odd
7,
because
6,
this game has been more than willing to add more jargon and more vocabulary words, as it were, in earlier parts for sure. Like, we've kind of forgotten about the whole soporil and tuberculin and axlevair.
Ambidex game has been
Would have been easy for them to throw out yet another chemical, or maybe the same chemical. If they told me that axlevair was actually in my blood, then that would be an interesting surprise.
Results will be displayed in the warehouse. Thank you for your participation. Ambidex gates now opening.
When I stepped out of the AB room, I could see that I was falling out of the rooms as we did.
Why?
I didn't have an answer for her. All I could think about was that white liquid. What was it? Some kind of discharge? Blood? No. It couldn't be blood. Blood wasn't white. That was insane. I was lost in thought when Luna spoke.
I'm going to the infirmary.
Huh? Don't you want to see the results?
Why? I already know what they're going to be.
Her usually warm personality seems to have gone cold. Whether it's because I'd chosen betray or because she noticed that something was wrong with my body I couldn't say.
Excuse me.
And with that, she was gone. I turned back to the projection. With heavy steps, I headed toward KDO and Timoji. And the only surprise here would be if Clover actually did betray also, or if somebody else betrayed in this timeline and also has 9 points.
Please direct your attention to the results screen.
Well, we got down to 3 screens that time. Ally, ally. Ally, ally. Betray. Ally. Which puts me at 9.
Points have been assigned or subtracted accordingly.
So, unless there's a scenario here where I can actually escape because there's fewer people actually in the warehouse at the moment, I imagine we're just going to get a very bad ending as I try to run to the number 9 door.
What the hell?
Sigma has 9 BP?
See? I told you! The bastard's finally showing his true colors. What the hell are you doing? Clover isn't even voting!
I have misjudged you. I never thought you would do something so cowardly.
Now everybody's mad at me. There's nothing I could say. I had chosen betrayal of my own volition, but had I really? Had I really pressed that button of my own free will? The more I thought about it, the more I felt as if some other force had guided my hand to the button. Seeing breaking the fourth wall here, perhaps it had been fear. But I was scared by the white fluid that had appeared on my palm. Maybe that had been the tipping point, and I had decided that I had to escape as soon as possible. Damn the consequences. If I got out, the nightmare would be over. That's all it was, right? A nightmare. It couldn't be real. White blood was insane, impossible. That's when I looked up and saw the others staring at my hand. Poop. I quickly put my hand behind my back, but I was already too late. They moved toward me like wolves closing in for a kill.
Sigma? What was that?
He was cut. It must have been blood.
But why was it white?
Isn't that obvious? He's not human.
Not human.
No. What are you saying? Of course I'm human. I'm 100% human. It's kind of funny to make that accusation at this point, because I'm fairly certain Kay is not human.
Then explain that white stuff.
I swear to God, I have no idea what it is. You have to believe
I'm
me.
afraid you're not being very convincing.
Oh, you're one to talk. We can't even see you. You could be a robot. Maybe that's not even a suit. That's just you. Robot you.
That seems extremely unlikely. However bad my amnesia might be, I am quite sure of my humanity. I am, without a doubt, not a robot.
I'm not sure I believe him. They probably just programmed you to think that.
Alright, it's pretty obvious this guy's dangerous and probably unhinged. We should take him down.
I agree.
Looks like there's no other way.
So,
Now that he's got 9 BP from stabbing Clover in the back, there's a good chance he'll try and get out of here by himself.
hey, hold on a minute. Let's not do anything rash. I didn't have a choice. I spun around and ran for the number 9 door.
No, I don't think so.
Poop, let go. Let go of me. I was no match for all 3 of them. Before I could take 2 steps, I was on the floor pinned. The desperation was only getting stronger, however. I writhed and twisted in futile attempt to get free. Let me go. This is all some kind of mistake, a misunderstanding. It's a conspiracy.
So, there's a conspiracy to turn your blood white? You're a funny guy.
Stop trying to get away. It's over.
It does feel like there is some conspiracy. Poop. Get off of me, let me go.
If you won't calm down, then you leave me no choice. I'd hoped we could avoid this. Try not to struggle too much.
No, don't. Ark. What did he do? Strangle me? So I passed out? Like, that wasn't a Soparil injection sound. I don't know what they just did. First thing I felt when I woke up was the hard pain of a bruise all the way across my neck. So I guess that was, he karate chopped me in the back of the neck. Kay must have suffocated me. My head felt like I had been stuffed with cotton, and I had to put out a hand to steady myself as I stood up. Where am I? Is this the infirmary? How long had I been out? My foot bumped into something, and I looked down to see the injection gun. A glass vial labeled Soparil was still attached to it. The anesthetic. After choking me, they made sure I wasn't getting up in the near future. That meant I could have been asleep for a long time. Did everybody possibly leave me and they all escaped without me? That'd suck. I glanced around the room. I would put my bet that everybody killed themselves with the Radical 6 first before they actually were able to escape without me. It was empty except for me. Took me a moment to realize what was especially odd about that. Even Quark and Alice had disappeared. What the hell's going on? That's when I noticed it. Quark and Alice weren't the only thing that had disappeared. 2 other very important things were also gone. My bracelet and my left hand. For a long moment, I just stared dumbstruck. What I was seeing couldn't possibly be real. But there it was. A smooth cross-section of my arm where a hand should have been. A thick white liquid dripping slowly from the stump. What? What is this? Oh god, oh god, oh god. So they cut off his arm? Yarg. They cut off his hand to get the bracelet. A scream clawed its way out of my body, taking my mind with it. Then after that, nothing. And that's just the game over. So you get the bad ending where they cut off your arm and use your bracelet, and maybe that gets them through the white doors, maybe it doesn't. Okay. Not a lot of added experience to that ending by any means. Let's see, Sigma game over. Are all of these Phi game over? Alright, so each one of these are labeled as a game over. So this is Quark's game over, so we know then this is Quark's story. Timoji's game over, so we know that's Timoji's story. Dio's game over. K's game over. So then we are now finally done with almost everything as far as this branch. So we now need to reload and jump to a middle branch, which it's going to be kind of hard to try and figure out the right outcome here. I think it's easier to start this way. So if we go to the left branch, this would have been going through the magenta door and doing the lounge. And then we would have done AB round 1, and we would have allied, and then we would have gone through the blue door, and then AB round 2, and then betrayed. And how can Phi and K be saved? Let's see, you almost need this story here. And I hate to have to do this, but I feel like that's really where this is going to go. So we're going to have to jump to this just to get a refresher of where the story goes.
Results from round 2 of the Ambidex game.
Yeah,
will
jumping
now be displayed.
right to the results is very helpful.
Please direct your attention to the results screen.
But who's to say that some kind of flash of memory won't change our effect? So we have betray, ally, betray, and then betray. And that leaves Quark with 9. But I'm not sure Quark having 9 really even matters, because I think in this timeline Quark is still asleep. And that leaves everybody else not particularly close to 9 points. So you picked betray.
To a draw, it would seem.
You don't feel bad about it or anything?
That's the same of you.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's fair.
You would choose ally.
If you had, then you'd have 9 BP right now, wouldn't you? Nice try, but I'm not going to let you get out of here that easily.
As I told you before, even if I were to reach 9 BP, I would not necessarily leave immediately.
Yeah, but we've seen that he does.
I might choose to wait until everyone else had also reached 9 BP.
Yeah. Well, I consider that. Didn't seem likely.
You do not trust me. No
Well.
need to apologize. Trust must be earned in a game like this.
Says the guy who told me to trust him so that he could betray me.
Indeed. Clearly, I don't deserve to be trusted.
The honesty is refreshing, but that's really not the brightest move. See, unless we get some major change in the timeline here, which we may not, we may literally have to rewind at least to an AB game or play the whole thing from the start. It's another visual glitch I just saw. Honestly, I think it's just the game's glitchy.
If you just picked ally, I'd have 9 BP right now.
Why on earth would I have done that?
In a funny way, the last, I would say, almost 9 hours of endings, we have not heard much about Clover at all. She has been fairly forgotten after this point where we get her ending.
There's no way Clover would have chosen ally when you had a chance to betray her and get to 9 BP.
Are you an idiot or something?
Just smart asses.
I've kind of forgotten that Clover the way she sounds. I might have considered a different voice actor for Clover. This might not even be the same voice actor from the first game.
Of course. Luna's bracelet is already off.
Luna is dead in this timeline. So we have to remind ourselves of that.
That brings Quarks BP up to 9.
Are you worried that he might try and get out?
Alice, I think, is dead in this timeline.
If he were to do so, the rest of us would be trapped here.
Bet you're all pretty happy he isn't here right now, aren't you?
Oh, and I guess Quark is missing at the moment, not asleep in the infirmary. Well, nobody's saying that.
You aren't saying it, but I know what you're thinking.
Then we'll get the same information. So we'll try and jump through all this. So in this timeline we found no bombs at all. So there's not really that threat.
So it would seem.
Quark is missing, but never confirmed to actually have Radical 6, I don't believe. Luna's dead by being injected by something. We never got a full description as far as who did that. It very well could have been self-inflicted to Luna, or it could have been that somebody gave her instructions, then injected her to kill her to send her to a different timeline, which that would be also very surprising.
All right. Well, where do we find them?
I suppose it is an interesting question. Would I prefer Clover to wear regular clothes and have the same voice actress, or will I prefer her to have the same voice actress and just or vice versa, have the same clothes and a different voice actress? I think probably the clothes are way more distracting. The visuals are way more distracting than the voice.
Beyond the next set of chromatic doors.
Oh, you found them already?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot to tell you guys. Take a look at the map. Yeah, they've in later endings stopped referring and showing people the map a little bit too. That saves some time.
Maybe that's where Quark went. The warehouse on floor B, is it?
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to get through them until they open. Still got 80 minutes. Seems like the amount of time that each door, the third set of doors opens, changes in many timelines.
Damn.
And that might have something to do with how long it takes you to do other puzzles previously. Could be that the third set of chromatic doors opens like 6 to 7 hours after the very beginning of the Nonary game.
Time we had a look at all our colors then.
Let's see. Blue solo.
I'm a magenta.
Colors, we kind of
You
don't
and me
care.
are better than Dio, I guess.
You say something.
What color are you?
I'm a green. What's with the sigh?
Forget about it.
Cyan pair.
I'm a cyan pair too.
And see, at this point, we completely forget about our cybernetic arms because they aren't going to play any role until we start getting down the perfect path.
Alice and Luna's bracelets have changed as well.
Alice and Luna are both dead.
Both of them are yellow pairs.
Then what color is
These
Quark?
are red solo. In order to open the white doors, you'd normally need, say, red, blue, and green. That's why the pairs are magenta, yellow, and cyan. Magenta is a mix of red and blue. Yellow is a mix of red and green. Cyan is a mix of blue and green. So if you combine magenta with green, you get white. And so on.
Okay then. We just need to get to the floor B warehouse when the doors open, right? I'll be taking off then.
Where do you think you're going?
Anywhere that isn't here. Hanging out with a murderer doesn't sound like a good time to me.
still have yet to figure out who Zero Senior is.
The guy who insists on splitting up is usually the first to bite it.
What?
Well, then again, loners often turn out to be killers.
Just what are you getting at, old man? You think I kill him?
Well, maybe, maybe not. But you're pretty damn suspicious.
There's actually a decent argument to say Dio didn't kill Alice or Luna in this timeline, because there's not a good reason why. Like, if he's planting the bombs, he would only kill somebody if he was caught planting the bombs. Also, he's planted the bombs in such a way that none of the security room, which the security room really doesn't show all of the rooms in the warehouse. Yeah, but yeah, none of the security room caught him on tape
You trying to start something, you wrinkle old
when he was
piece of-
planting the bombs. It's almost as if he knew where the cameras were, even though they're supposed to be tiny as screws and hidden. We don't know actually which one of us is the killer, do we?
We have no evidence of that, no. But we do know that Zero Senior is one of us. And there is an excellent chance that Zero Senior and the killer are one and the same.
Then why did he kill Alice and Luna now? If Zero Senior wanted any of us dead, he could have done it way before this. While we were, I don't know, unconscious, for instance. What's the point of setting up this whole game just to kill us off, two of your participants, halfway through?
Then are you saying there's another person in here somewhere?
It's possible. I think it might be a good idea for us to all look for this killer. So the excuse to split everybody up in this storyline is the potential 10th person.
Well, we gain nothing by standing around here.
Yeah. I've got to find Quark, and soon.
If we're going to search, we should go in pairs this time.
How are we going to pair up then?
I'm not going with Kay. If he decides he feels like snapping me in half, there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do about it.
I'll go with anyone besides Dio.
I don't want to go with Dio either.
Fine. He's hardly my first choice, but I'll take Dio.
What the hell?
Just figured that this way we don't have to make this into a huge argument. Besides, I'm gonna be stuck with you once we go through the chromatic doors anyway. No reason to put it off.
I will go with Sigma. Would
Oh,
you
yeah?
prefer someone else?
No, I guess you're okay.
That leaves me and Clover as a pair then.
Yep.
And so there's only 6 people still around. Quark's missing. Luna and Alice are dead.
We'll take the cyan door on floor A and the blue door on floor B.
All right. Clover and I'll take the magenta door and the red door.
Okay.
Got it.
See you later then.
And I don't think their decisions in this case change anything. I think unless we're going to get some different story here, we can fairly quickly jump through all of this, because this really is just recapping it for me, so I know what's going on. We're probably going to have to stick to some more recapping for every timeline. There's no one in the infirmary, no Quark, no killer as far as I can see.
There is someone here, technically at least. The old woman.
Yeah, we've completely forgotten about the old woman. Oh yeah. She was lying silently on the bed furthest away from her. She doesn't look like anybody that I recognize, though. She's not like Phi, if Phi lived another 50 years. Let's see. We find out that she was wearing a bracelet.
It seems remarkably clean. Maybe she had a watch, perhaps.
We remember this,
It was likely
so we can go ahead and skip all this, unless something different gets revealed.
Perhaps it was some.
Really, these left branches seem to not really integrate the flashbacks at all. At least so far, we haven't seen them integrating any of the other timelines.
Then that would
But
mean
it's possible that they will on a second playthrough.
Are you sure? This old woman, a player in the Nonary game.
it also might be the case that she had all the answers and she was the linchpin to everyone else figuring out why they were in the Nonary game.
Oh, no. Nothing. If you're correct, then where did the thief hide the stolen bracelet? We were quite thorough during our earlier search.
They searched.
But I know that I saw nothing, and none of the others reported finding a bracelet either.
They searched her. They didn't search each other.
That would seem likely.
No, wait. If they'd been carrying it around, the sensors in the chromatic doors would have just picked it up. Without the right combination of bracelets, the secondary door would have never opened.
So our suspect is not only a killer and a thief, but a skilled imposter as well.
What are you saying?
After killing the old woman, they put on her bracelet. In fact, it is entirely possible they are wearing it still. Yes, that would make sense.
So the killer's running around with the old woman's bracelet.
Yes.
And you're telling me that they're probably wearing it.
Do you remember what Zero Jr. told us? Something about how the bracelet will come off if the wearer's heart stops. I don't recall the exact words.
But oddly, it reattaches if you... There's an easy way to reattach it.
Once the old woman had died, her bracelet would have detached, allowing the killer to easily collect it, so that they could participate in the Nonary Game, I imagine.
But it would be funny if Dio's watch actually was not actually attached and he could take it off at any point. But if he could do that at any point, then why did he need 9 BP at all?
I suspect the killer was someone who was not originally intended to be a participant. For whatever reason, however, they were willing to go to great lengths to ensure that they were. To that end, they killed the old woman, who was one of the original participants, and took her place.
But why would someone do that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, if we're not careful,
Certainly they must
this is
have
going to take
goals of
way
some
too
sort.
long.
You would have to be mad to choose to come here. But as to what that goal is, and how the killer intends to achieve it, I'm afraid I do not have even speculation.
That's
Have
interesting.
you noticed something?
Well, there's blood all over the old lady's arm, except for the right here, since that's where the bracelet was, and the bracelet the killer stole would have blood on it. But none of us are wearing a bloody
Signal.
bracelet.
The killer would have, of course, only a fool would walk around with a bracelet.
So you're saying they
Yes.
cleaned it?
Have you discovered something?
Yeah, the luminol, which really isn't playing any bigger role in the story. Yeah, it almost feels like you could have had one game that was literally just this left branch. And it got overly expansive once they started adding the second branch and the third branch. Let's see. You would have, in that scenario, you could have had a question mark to be continued end instead of dead ends. And you could have had potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the Nonary game instead of 9 people, and combine some people into a dead end, or a death. Yeah.
Aha, I see.
It would be a lot of work to basically cut the game into less than a third of what it is, but there is a fairly separate and distinct story that this branch tells versus the other game sections.
Where the luminol was, I believe.
Yeah. First, we need to finish looking for Quark, though. We've still got the infirmary and everything beyond the green door. So, we're done with that. We can head back to floor B and meet up with everyone else.
Shall we go then?
So now I'm just kind of questioning, is there anything else that we need to be reminded of? Because I'm still not 100% sure what happened. can't bring up the flow while we're transitioning. I don't think there's any logical reason for the zigzags in the doors. There's 3 doors
Same
too.
as what we found on the other side of the blue door.
But the treatment center and one other door, 2 of them are already
So it
unlocked.
does. The center and rightmost doors both say open. Perhaps the layout here is different.
So the one on the right is Golem Bay. Whatever, let's take the door on the right first. And we're back to transitions. But unless I get some kind of memory here, I don't think there's a real reason to come back to Golem Bay.
That looks like a workbench of some sort.
Yeah. The question is, how can Phi and K be saved? Lock number 1. So how did Phi and K end up getting in trouble?
Very well.
And you just kind of jump from this area. I don't think you find or do anything.
Oh, nothing.
And see, he's looking for the key in the safe, but somebody else grabbed it. So did he get the key?
No, it was empty when I found it. Yes. I was thinking. Specifically, I was thinking about who opened this safe.
Yeah, and that is definitely a question. That must have been in this timeline Quark. Because it doesn't feel like that would have been... it doesn't feel like that would have been Dio and...
No, that's unlikely. When we met up with Dio, he told us that he had been in the treatment center. The nameplate on this door says this is the Golem Bay, however. I believe that is the case. Which, as you can see, is why I was puzzled. If Dio, Phi, and Clover did not open this safe, who did?
Well, the golem is missing, so maybe in this scenario, the golem was awakened, and he grabbed the key himself and is running around the facility, although I don't know why. Well, there's no point about thinking about it. We should go back.
Yes, and there was another unlocked door, wasn't there?
Yep. Let's get moving then. In a weird way, that might be one of the perfect solutions here, is that the golem robot helps you out somehow. And I don't know if we're gonna find Quark inside the treatment bays.
An excellent question.
Just trying to skip all of this. I want to read it out loud. Talk to later, figure it out.
They must be the treatment. Shall we open it?
So we open it. Is Quark in this one, or is it empty?
What?
Quark is in it, and Quark has his helmet. And his bracelet was taken off.
Calm down. Look at his chest. Can you see it moving?
So they got the bracelet off of him by putting him in cold sleep.
What a relief. I'm so glad to know he's safe.
But somebody grabbed Kay in a bear hug, or at least as much as one as I can manage. But if he's still alive, why is his bracelet off? Zero Jr. said it only come off when you died.
Perhaps Zero's...
But
I
why?
have no idea.
Maybe Zero Senior brought Quark here and put him in the pod thing too. Well, even if he did, we don't have any way to know
This
why.
pod is for medical treatment. Perhaps Quark has contracted some sort of illness.
See, we don't even know about Radical
How would I
6.
know that? In any event, we should return and let the rest of our companions know that we found Quark.
The main factors to take from it is they find Quark in the pod
Pleased.
still. For the few times he goes disappearing, he goes missing. And his watch apparently is not just on the bed next to him.
No, I believe it would be best to leave Quark here. As I mentioned, there is a chance he has fallen ill. If so, then removing him from the pod would be dangerous.
Also,
The treatment he is currently undergoing
clearly makes more sense to lock him in now, after we've seen how many times he's tried to kill himself.
I'll close the pod's cover. Is that all right?
Yeah. Wait, I just thought of something. Are you sure he's gonna be alright?
What do you mean?
Well, what if he wakes up? Can he open this thing on his own?
Fine. I noticed a lever inside that can be used to open the cover. So long as no one locks the pod, he should be able to leave whenever he wants.
But if someone locks him in, he's
Yes,
screwed.
that is what I said. But you needn't worry. You see? I have not engaged the lock. Now, we should return to the Floor B warehouse. I imagine the others are already there.
Just a ton of transitioning. I feel like you could probably go into like skip mode to just through the transition modes alone. And speed that up a little bit.
You're late.
You're one to talk. How much earlier did you get back again? I'd be surprised if you searched at all. Yeah, Clover and Tenmyoji still aren't back.
So, find anything?
Yeah, we should
Yeah?
did.
Well, go on, spill it.
Explain to them how we found Quark in the treatment center.
I see.
And here we have Phi smiling with her eyes closed. That's possibly a unique pose too. I don't think we see it very often.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Jerk, making us all worried.
There is more.
And that is?
There is still some cause for concern.
Just spit it out.
Quark may have contracted an illness of some sort. As such, he has been left in the treatment pod.
Will he be alright?
Yeah, I'll probably.
Probably? Do you even...
Whatever. At least we found him. Pretty lucky he's alive, too.
What do you mean by that?
I mean what I said, genius. I'm glad he's not dead, aren't you?
As equivocal as ever, I see.
Kind of you to say so.
So, was Quark all you found? The way you were talking made it sound like there was something else.
Yeah, I'll explain after Tomoji and Clover get back. There's something I wanted to ask you about first, though. When you went through the green door, did you search 2 different rooms?
No, just the treatment center.
I see. Then what was the other
What
one?
do you mean the other one?
You know, where there's that intersection with 3 doors. Well, when Kay and I went there, 2 of the doors were unlocked. You guys unlocked the one that went to the treatment center when you went through the green door. But the other one...
Who could have opened it?
Don't look at me. I told you, we only opened the one that went to the treatment center.
Could it have been Zero Senior?
I don't know.
So did you and Kay go through the other door?
Yeah,
What was in there?
nothing really.
Appeared to be some sort of room for servicing something.
That doesn't make any sense. So what the hell was whoever opened that door looking for?
Who knows? But it's not like there was any
Tenmyoji and Clover
Axelver
are linked.
in the Golem Bay.
Should we go and look for them?
No, there's something I want to check first. This might also be the timeline where Clover and Tomoji have been handcuffed to the sink in the infirmary and possibly murdered.
It's never easy with you, is it?
Let's get it over with.
Yeah, none of his dialogue feels like it's new. How somebody would have been able to possibly break away and handcuff Clover and Tomoji in the infirmary in this timeline, I don't know.
This is the rec room. Dio and I came here earlier when we were looking for Quark.
So why are we here?
Was there something here you needed to see?
It's been a long time since we've been in this room. Room went dark, I head back to the others.
Whoa, what is... You gonna start telling ghosts?
Am I scared of ghosts?
You're kidding me, right?
Then show me how brave you are. Stick out your bracelet. E25, please. Let's see the underside of them. I mean the side on the bottom. The side that doesn't have the display on it. Come on. Really gonna make me explain this?
What I'm asking is what the hell you think you're...
Just do it. It's not hard.
Should I also participate?
No, you're fine, Kay. Your bracelet is a little different from ours. But I'll join in just to make it fair. There's a brief moment of hesitation before Dio and Phi stuck out their arms. I held mine out as well, wrist pointed upwards.
This okay?
See, this was custom art that was never used again. So this is kind of not useful. It would have been probably better just to reuse the art the other direction where the wrists were downward, and then they could have just say we'll spray around the wrist and see if any blood shows up. Yeah, just hold it like that for a moment. As fast as I could, I pulled out the luminol from my pocket and sprayed it across all three of our wrists.
Cold. What the hell, man?
Dio jerked his arm out back with a shout. Don't see anything glowing. Vi's bracelet is clean, so it's mine, of course.
That leaves only Dio.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I'll explain in a minute. Just show me your bracelet. Is something wrong? Just show it to me. Come on, Dio. We don't have time for this.
Do what you tell me to.
Because I'm trying to prove you're innocent.
Like hell you are. I don't know what you're looking for. But you're not gonna find it on me.
Then just show me your arm.
No, you don't get to order me around. I have...
As he spoke, Dio made a break for the exit. He didn't get far.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Dio.
And then see, they catch him and they find out he's a killer, but they don't really know why he's a
I know what
killer.
you're talking about, but okay.
And then they jump him, and then there's a custom animation here that gets used twice. You can see how this bracelet is drawn differently in 3D than it really was drawn in the 2D images. His bracelet's glowing, then that means...
Let me go! Get off of me, you fuckers!
But we don't know about the bombs, so it's not like we even have the possibility. We'd ask him what's the code for bomb number 4. Killed the old lady.
You don't understand. This is all some kind of a mistake. Shit.
What's going on here? I think it's about time you gave us the full story.
As quickly as I could, I explained to Phi and Kay what Kay and I had noticed about the old woman's wrist.
So the person with the bloody bracelet would have to be the person who killed her.
Yeah. And I guess Tin Miyoji probably knew that, because we know he knew that in that one timeline. And so that's probably the thing he tells Clover and Alice to gain their trust. Yeah, exactly. Even if they wiped it off, I figured the luminol would still react to the blood. I'm a little surprised I didn't realize that probably is what Tin Miyoji is telling Clover and Alice. Looks like I was right. We've got you, Dio. Might as well confess. Well, and see, in this timeline, either Dio doesn't have any bombs, hasn't planted the bombs, or is just jumped before he can grab his poison pill or activate the bombs.
caught me. I did it. I killed the old bitch and took her bracelet.
Are you
Why?
Zero?
No, I was under orders. I was sent here to do something.
Do what?
Gave you this order?
I'll die before I tell you.
So your orders were more important than Alice and Luna's lives?
Oh, whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I killed the old lady, but that's it.
So he doesn't confess to killing Luna or Alice.
I don't know anything about what happened to Alice and Luna.
So he probably didn't get caught when planting the bomb and kill Luna or Alice. That wasn't you?
Carefully, Sigma. This man is not to be trusted. He has already shown he is willing to lie and kill.
Come on, I'm telling the truth. You gotta believe me.
Even if we do believe you, you're still a killer. You just haven't killed as many people.
Exactly. He should be restrained somehow. If we leave him be, he may well kill again.
But where would we put
Is there
him?
a room we can lock or anything?
Oh yeah, this is where they put him in the
Perhaps we could put him in one of the treatment pods.
treatment
Once
pods,
we've locked it, he should be unable to escape.
and then he gets suffocated.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
wait. I'll be good, I promise.
yeah. I think you're onto something, Kay. Let's go with that.
Please. Hey, listen to me.
We'll let you out when the white doors open. Someone's gonna need your bracelet to open the secondary door.
With me, you guys. There's no way in hell I'm going in that thing. Let go. Let me go. God damn it.
And see, this is just another screaming section.
Stop.
You could easily take all of these screaming sections out. Like it would have been easy to fade to black and simply say Dio screamed the entire way as we dragged him to the treatment pod.
I said open it, goddammit. You're gonna pay for this. When I get out of here, I'm gonna fucking end you.
I guess the question comes down to, are the treatment pods broken and that's why he gets suffocated, or is it because somebody activates them to suck all the oxygen out?
Now all that's left to do is find Clover and Tenmyoji.
Yeah.
Why don't we head back to the warehouse and start from there? They may have already returned.
Good point. So in this timeline, I guess at the moment, technically, 5 people could be alive. But I think Clover and Team Myoji are dead, and they would make it 7. If they are alive. Nothing here.
Perhaps they went to...
How much time until the white...
Got 50 minutes still.
Then I don't think we really need to hurry yet.
And see, I just jumped back one novel section to remind myself where I was, and this has added
Why don't we wait a little
like
longer?
30 or 40 more minutes of
For all we
story.
know, they're on their way back right now.
And I don't see a way that you could have played the game and not ended up having to refresh your memory on some of these timelines. The way you have to jump around to unlock the nodes.
By the way, there was something I wanted to ask you guys about.
Oh yeah.
Quarks Bracelet. When we found him in the pod, he wasn't wearing it. Why?
How should I know?
Presumably, it had been taken off before we found him.
So we have no idea where it is.
Pretty
I
much.
see. That's not good. Without that bracelet, we won't be able to continue the game.
What?
We need 3 bracelets to open the secondary door. If we lose one...
Oh no. We wouldn't be able to go through the secondary door. Who would be pairing with Quark?
Quark's bracelet should be a red solo. That would mean he'd be with the cyan pair.
Who's the cyan
Clover
pair?
and Tenmyoji.
The two people who are missing.
Quarks Bracelet is gone, and his two teammates have disappeared.
What's going on? Does that mean Clover and Tomoji took the bracelet?
Well, if they found Quark before you did, yeah, there's a good chance they did.
Then why aren't they back yet?
Perhaps they've already gone through the white door.
What? No, that's not possible. The primary doors haven't opened yet.
Perhaps someone opened one of them.
How?
No, but it's happened before. Remember the 3 doors on the other side of the green door? Someone made one of them open. Perhaps this is the same thing.
There's a good point there. But that's against the rules.
I know. But if the person opening the doors is Zero Senior, do you really think the rules matter? Zero Senior controls the entire game.
So are you saying Clover or Tenmyoji is Zero Senior?
It is a possibility. It would explain why they still haven't shown up.
Could they really have taken Quarks Bracelet and gone through one of the white doors?
If they did, we won't know where they went until the doors open for the rest of us.
So I would assume.
This is still all just speculation, though. Maybe we should go look for them again. One of us can stay behind so that we don't miss them if they come back.
I'll stay.
Sigma and I will go see if we can find them.
Man, there's
Make sure
just
you
so
get back
much
5 minutes before the
of
door opens,
going
alright?
around in circles with this.
And don't forget to bring Dio with you.
So much going in circles. Let's go ahead and skip mode. See, this takes us to, we went to the pantry. Why did we end up in the pantry?
So it would appear.
I don't recall being in the pantry, but I don't think we find anything here.
When we started looking for Quark, they were sent off to search everything beyond the red door, which would have meant this room.
Not gonna do us any good hanging around though. Let's head upstairs. See, so just got a pointless element there. Now we're in the lounge. No one here either. Is this the point where we get the backstory on K?
Well,
Oh yeah, this is the part where we get the entire backstory on K. So we'll go and skip all of that. And we almost certainly there was nothing new there, so that's easy to skip. What are you doing? You're supposed to be waiting back at the warehouse.
I know. I just decided to go check on you guys. I waited a long time and nobody showed up. Judging by your face, you haven't found. Damn. Where's Kay?
He's in the
You
lounge.
decided to split up?
Well, not quite. Instead of waiting for my answer, she opened the door to the lounge and walked in. And you see him laying down. Does him laying down mean anything?
What's up with him?
Wanted to rest for a
All
bit.
right?
I think so. What's funny is they're depicting him, his bracelet basically being off while he's resting. It's not showing a number or color or anything.
Tired, huh? How are you feeling? I feel tired just looking at your face is like a week old sock.
Yeah. I don't think I skipped anything, but it would really suck if I did skip something and it was different or very important information. And certainly that is a possibility at any point in this game if you go into skip mode, is that you're going to miss out on something very important. Although the odds seem to be really, really low. Just keep on skipping. This is one of those standard endings that we kind of stopped seeing. It's like, why are we even here? What's the whole Nonary game for? What is Zero Senior up to? How about who Zero Senior is?
Who knows?
Don't know why Dio killed him. He said that he was ordered to do it, but there's more to. What about the old lady? Who is she? What's her deal? What are any of our deals?
Are you serious? You can't honestly suspect me, can you?
No, that's
I'm
not
just
it.
like you. I was kidnapped on December 25th and brought here too.
She trailed off. So then you hear those loud banging sounds. You heard that, right? Yeah.
Came from the hallway.
Let's go have a look. Loud banging sounds, which we assume is not a gun. At this. Oh, if it is a
There's
gun.
nobody here.
So was that supposed to be the elevator opening?
Let's try hitting the button. If the door doesn't open immediately, then...
So somebody did go down the elevator. Could this be Golem, though?
Thought so.
Well, if we're gonna throw Golem into the mix and he really is running around doing things, then at a certain point you have to wonder, is he running around potentially killing people? Or is he planting items in the safes? Is that how the password ends up in the password device ends up in a certain
Let's just head for the green door.
certain safe, or how the extra rules end up in certain safes?
Because the treatment center's there. That's where Dio and Quark are. You aren't worried? I just want to make sure they're safe.
A lot of running around.
Are you sure? Dio admitted to killing the old woman, but he still insists that he didn't kill Alice or Luna. What if he's telling the truth?
Are you serious?
Doesn't matter. I just want to know if they're safe. No harm in being careful.
So they run through the green door, no decision made there. No choice. Get to this, there's still only seemingly 2 doors open. If you look at the image, you can see that the pod number 2 is still locked. Quark is sound asleep.
Yeah, I guess I was probably getting worried for... How about Dio?
Let's open his. Let's see, yeah, they show it again as he's locked. And yet he's suffocated.
Check his pulse.
So he goes bracelet, and you accidentally murdered him.
Look, the oxygen level for his pod says 0%.
Then that means he's asphyxiated, but
Someone
why?
must have tampered with the pod and lowered the oxygen levels.
Or the pod was just broken. Who?
Look, we should go tell Kay about this. Come on, let's go.
See, if the code is a 2-headed lion eats the red sun, maybe that is supposed to be that Sigma and Phi are both Leos as far as their zodiac sign, but I don't know how they would eat the red sun. Maybe they'd find some kind of glowing red sun red energy or something. I haven't seen anything like that yet. And I would be surprised actually if we did find something like that. Find a person in the lounge and ran up to K. He's still asleep. So if he managed to kill people while being asleep, he did it in an amazing way. He twitched and quickly set up.
What is it?
Just trying to rush through all of this, man. Blah, 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 blah. Pause now if you want to read this.
What? But why? I thought that Dio was the one who killed the old woman, Alice and Luna.
Running out of energy once again.
If he was the murderer.
I can barely make 2 or 3 episodes of this series since the episodes are so long. Before I'm exhausted for a day. Are you suggesting Quark woke up, opened his pod from the inside, killed Dio, then went back to sleep?
I'm just saying that strictly speaking, it's a possibility. So just, you know, take it into consideration.
Well, in that case, Phi, I hate to say it, but doesn't that mean that you could have done it?
Me?
Yes. You could have done it any time after Sigma and I left the Floor B warehouse.
Or K and Sigma could have worked together to do it.
I was waiting for Clover and Tenmyoji to show up. They never did though, so I got impatient and went to find you guys. Then I bumped into Sigma in front of the lounge.
I would highly suspect that Phi didn't do it. And that'd be a great reason for her to do it.
I see.
Sound.
So you heard something. Then perhaps it is likely that Clover and Tenmyoji were at fault.
Were the two of you together the whole time you were investigating?
Maybe the sound we heard is them struggling.
You never split up or anything?
Nope.
In any event, we don't have a great deal of time to discuss it.
See, I guess in this timeline, we just never find Clover and Tenmyoji.
Alright. Let's
So,
get back to the Floor B warehouse.
You have to question,
Clover and Tenmyoji are already there.
Are they dead somewhere, or are they handcuffed somewhere?
Huh?
You didn't take it? Dio was a green solo. Phi and I are the magenta pair.
Shit. You're right. Without Dio's bracelet, we won't be able to open the secondary door.
I fear not.
Then we need to hurry. We'll drop by the treatment center on the way back and grab the bracelet.
Don't need to go. You two go on ahead. I'll get the bracelet.
See, in this timeline, like we already are at an open book, but I think he goes and gets the bracelet and it's broken, so I don't know how they're going to be saved.
Alright.
Unless this is a timeline where we just had to rewind and play it a second time anyways. Yellow pair of bracelets. Where were these Alice's and Luna's?
Without these, you would be stuck. So, here you are. Please, take them.
Grab the bracelets and shove them in my pocket.
Alright, let's get going.
Still
Maybe
not
they did
here.
go through the door, like Kay said.
With Quarks Bracelet. Oh, come on, man. Better not be giving me that. Maybe they're already dead, poop. You've got to be kidding me. This isn't funny, Phi. If you're right, then you, Kay, Quark, and I are the only people still alive in
lay
here.
off. I want to believe they're alive too, but
Where the nose and turned. Yeah, I honestly don't know how this story's going to continue, but apparently we are going to. We can do it.
did you get Dio's bracelet?
Well, technically, yes, but...
Huh?
Best you just see it. This is what I found in Dio's pod.
What?
Oddly, the bracelet looks like it's also locked instead of open. So did Dio just smash his wrist against the pod walls and break it, or did somebody else break it? Or did the pressure break it? And does it really matter?
I assume whoever murdered Dio did this.
But why? There's no point.
Can't say for sure, but if I were to guess,
Chromatic doors have opened. 5 minutes remain until chromatic doors close.
Would there be a way to put on the other two bracelets on K and Vi? I don't know how you put another bracelet on K. Alice and Luna's bracelets, for instance.
with a bracelet like this, I doubt we can get past the secondary door.
That means Kay and I will...
Oh no.
When the time comes, those 3 doors will automatically close.
I wonder if maybe just everybody going through one door would still be acceptable. As long as you have the right color combination of 3 bracelets, maybe you can have more extras.
If anyone is left outside after they close, they'll be penalized.
I see. That's what they wanted. Whoever killed Dio wanted to use the game to kill me and Kay. That's why they broke the bracelet.
I think so.
I don't even have in my cybernetic arms the ability to grab the bracelets and rip them off of people.
Makes the most sense.
And apparently Kay doesn't have that ability either. I can be so calm. 5 minutes you're gonna be.
Go on ahead, Sigma. You have those bracelets Kay gave you, right? You should be able to get through the secondary door with those. So just...
Tubercuring could potentially save Phi, but I don't know what saves K, because I don't think you could even inject the tubercuring into K.
But if you stay here, you'll...
Let's see. He's not gonna ditch him. What kind of monster am I if I just leave you here to die? Arg. See, I'm still haven't seen a single flashback or the story changing in any way. This was bad. What was I gonna do? I needed to calm down. Just calm down. Calm down and think. There had to be a way to save them. There had. Alright, so now we're getting a flashback that's different.
The first is an anesthetic called Soparil Beta. The other is a muscle relaxant called tubocurin.
Okay. Flashback is going to just explain what we kind of knew.
The bracelet also has a bunch of needles on the inside. If you break the rules, those needles hop out and inject you.
I don't even remember Zero saying this. It almost feels like a flashback to something.
Neostigmine is a type of cholinesterase inhibitor.
Huh.
That means it's sort of an antidote for tubocurin.
This has just been so long since we've seen this timeline.
I knew it.
Get back. I found it, so it's mine.
So it was on Dio at some point. But it also, if you took all the oxygen out of a pod, that might break a vacuum tube of neostigmine. Of course, the antidote. I didn't have time to explain. I took off running towards the exit. Why did they animate that? That's crazy. That implies they could have animated us walking inside of a lot of different rooms.
Where are you going?
And there's really no reason for it. Stay here. I'll be right back. Bolted out of the warehouse toward the treatment room. So we're now finally, after a ridiculous amount of time. That was like 40 minutes just to catch up and remember what was going on. We're now at a point where we're seeing new content. And almost certainly there isn't any other gate or anything, so we are just going to get this ending, which might give us some bit of information. I think Dio put it in his pocket. Come on, come on. Please still have it. Sweat pouring down my face, but I didn't bother to wipe it off. There wasn't time. I dug frantically through Dio's coat until... Aha, found it. Oh. There's only one dose. The injection gun uses the whole bottle at once. Poop. I can't save them both.
1 minute remains until chromatic doors.
And so you're not finding the poison pill, and you're not finding the detonator when searching Dio, oddly. 1 minute. Poop. Spun around and shot out of the treatment room.
3, 2, 1. Chromatic doors closing.
That's too slow. No, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh dear.
Sigma.
There's a sharp, quick pain in my wrist, barely even noticeable. I couldn't feel anything flowing into my veins, but I knew it was there. First would be an anesthetic Soprol. I blinked and my vision started to blur. When I tried to think, it felt like my mind had been stuffed with cotton. My legs began to wobble and then gave out entirely as I crumpled to the floor. So, am I going to, like, shoot myself with the antidote? No, I couldn't fall asleep. I had to give one of them the antidote before my bracelet injected me with tuberculin. Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a novel section and then just K's end. With every ounce of strength I could muster, I forced my eyes back open. He chooses not to inject himself. Kane lay limp on the floor in front of me. In my right hand, I could feel the injector gun with its precious cargo. I could only pull the trigger once. Who was I going to choose? Phi or K? ... No. What was I thinking? There's only one answer. Phi. I didn't even have a choice. After all, K's entire body was covered in impenetrable metal. I'm sorry, K. I summoned up as much energy as I could, dragged myself toward Phi. So it's funny how this isn't going to end up being K's ending. After what felt like an eternity, I was finally within arm's reach. With no time to waste, I pressed the gun to her arm and pulled the trigger. And the screen's all white.
Sigma. What the hell did you...
I injected you with neostigmine. It's a type of cholesterol inhibitor. Another big word, unnecessary. It's the antidote to the muscle relaxant.
Pick me.
Because I can't use the injection gun on K. It'd never go through the metal.
Then why didn't you inject yourself?
I guess you got a point. Honestly, didn't even cross my mind.
You're the biggest idiot on the planet.
Hey, come on. Is that any kind of thing to say that somebody who's about to die? How about something more tender?
No. Screw this. I don't want to live if it means being in debt to you. No goddamn way. I'm not gonna...
Her words slurred and slowed as her eyes flooded closed. She wasn't dead, of course. I could hear the faint sound of her breathing as her chest raised and fell. And see her chest rise and fall. Wouldn't it be crazy if her little brooch that she has actually can open the watches? It's something as easy as just sticking a pin in a tiny little hole. Good, Phi's gonna be alright. But K. I looked over at his direction. That's when I noticed it. Interesting. Is the lock in the open position now? I thought that the lock, the line would have been in the closed position. Open. There's a hole here on the back of your head. Yeah. It's been opened. He could take it off, I think, at any point. Yeah, it looks like you insert something. It says open, so maybe you put some kind of key in there.
You could open up the suit and take the mask off.
Wait. Then he... But when could he have... It's empty.
Yes.
So he did get the key. Was there something in there before?
No, it was empty when I found it.
But what if he had lied? Could Kay have taken the key? How'd he gotten it didn't really matter anymore. What did matter was that Kay was able to remove his armor. And he had. When he laid down to go kill Dio. Holy poop. Then that would mean Dio's killer is... I coaxed as much strength as I could from my increasingly lethargic body and crawled towards Kay. Kay, wake up. Come on, talk to me. I grabbed his shoulders and shook him until he finally shifted and spoke.
Sigma.
I just need to know one thing. Did you kill Dio? You weren't sleeping, were you? After I left, you took off your armor. You didn't want to go the same way I had, so you took the other door. After you went the long way around through the warehouse and the crew quarters, you headed for the elevator. Was that the sound we heard? I bumped into Phi and went back to the lounge to check on you. We saw you, or we saw your armor, I guess. But then you would have been out of it. While we were in the lounge, you went to the treatment room and killed Dio. You must have turned off the oxygen to his pod, although you probably didn't stick around to make sure he died. I'm betting you were in a hurry to get back before Phi and I knew something was up. Once you got back to floor A, you needed us out of the lounge, so you made a noise in the hall to lure us out. Then you ran around, took the long way back to the lounge so you could enter through the rear door. Well, that all makes sense. Certainly. Are we going to take the mask off, though, and see who he is, or do we just never get to know who Kay is? Does it just not matter? Once you were there, I put the suit on again and waited for us. As soon as we found Dio's body, we did exactly what you'd expected. Kay, wake up. Something's happened. You pretended to wake up, very disoriented and confused. What is it? Come on, Kay. I'm almost out of time. Did you kill Dio?
Yes. Your reasoning is correct. I killed him.
Why?
Because I couldn't forgive him. He took the life of someone very important to me.
This guy knows the old lady?
I couldn't.
The old lady's his mother, or the assistant that to his father. Who did he kill?
The old woman.
What?
She was like mother to me. She showed me how to see meaning in my life.
So that does mean that the old woman was in the Nonary game, and she was going to be have a connection to Kay, and then Alice and Clover clearly have a connection, and Tomoji and Quark clearly have a connection, which really only leaves Sigma and Phi having some kind of connection. Wait, are you saying?
I am. She was the woman who came here when I was 18.
She came here when I was 18? Well, hold on. What do you mean here?
Sigma. Unfortunately, we are out of time. There's something I have to tell you. You made a promise that you would hear it.
Oh, wow. We actually are going to get another code. Who are they promising, though, that they have to make these statements right as they're about to die?
I understand.
Not really.
This is very important.
Hmm.
You must pay attention. Cannot forget.
Like, the game is very specifically telling you, write this down in the memo. Forget. Wasn't making much sense. I was about to die. How on earth would I be able to remember anything for more than a few seconds?
If you see a lion with two heads
Yeah.
devouring the sun, remember these letters. M-I-L-K-E-V-O-L-I.
Okay. Set this down. Then M I L dot K be very careful. KEV V dot OLI O L and I. See if we can draw that a little bit better. LI, okay. So milk EV, and this is not dashes, this was dots. Although, it's not like they're saying dash or dot, really. MILKVOLI. And those are just letters.
This will open the second gate.
And so now we have the second gate, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the lines of dialogue change in a way so you always get the first gate first and then the second gate, then the third gate. What the heck? Hey, Kay, who told you to tell me this? No, who are you? Show me who you really are. I grabbed a hold of Kay's mask and tore it off. What? I mean, he kind of maybe looks like Sigma, but I otherwise have no idea. Like, he doesn't look like anybody, really. No, that's impossible. That face. It's my face. I felt a sharp pain in my left wrist, and my body collapsed unceremoniously. The second drug, tuberculin. My vision began to blur. My head felt unnaturally heavy. So either he was a clone of me or something. Like, or I'm some kind of like more advanced robot that only has cybernetic arms and the rest of me was grown or undetectable. The world faded away and my conscience slipped down into the cold dark waters of nothingness. And see, we're back to black screen on this instead of white background. It's weird that it kept toggling that way and changing. It's not like I've exited out of the app or anything. So if it was a visual glitch where they just started to have a white background, it fixed itself. And I bet that's not really the case. I bet it's more just a case that there's an inconsistency as far as how the game is programmed as to whether it wants to have a gray background, white background, or black background. That's the K end. You can definitely see how if you had made an anime on this, you could have had at most 3 episodes where you go down a path and you see somebody's death and it ends on that cliffhanger ending for the next time loop. But you definitely wouldn't want to go any longer than that, and you'd really want to go at most an hour and a half in time for each loop. And then the season finale could be 3, maybe 4 episodes, revealing all the secrets that have been revealed otherwise. Alright, so that opens that one. And it puts us in the quagmire now. Can we remember what's going on in the middle branch now? Which would be go through the yellow door, which, let's see. Go through the infirmary, and then choose to ally, and then go through the blue door, through the pressure exchange area, and then the question is there proof that there wasn't a murder? That it wasn't murder? Yeah. So I think we can pretty much just jump to this part, and we don't need a recap. I think, yeah, it's hard to say. I think that in this point, Quark was diagnosed as having Radical 6, and Alice was found dead, and Clover wants to see proof as to how somebody didn't murder Alice. So let's play this and just jump. I don't think we're really missing out any important factors there. The scalpel. Alice. We can skip a decent amount of this. Now, theoretically, we do have proof that this wasn't murder, but may not be good enough. And I don't know if this is going to unlock a long-running branch, or if this just unlocks a few more narrative sections, because it's possible that the remaining people still could make it through the white door in this case. And I guess if in these timelines the old lady is never found, then Kay no longer has that reason to Kay no longer has a reason to kill Dio, which doesn't really change that much. Let's just keep on skipping this. Yeah. So we have 8 people in the room, including Sigma. Quark is in the infirmary. I wasn't the only person who was wondering if they were standing next to a killer. Unsettling silence filled the room. Clover was the first to speak.
Who did this?
Nobody's going to respond. We're probably not going to get a flashback until we have to get the flashback.
Please, Clover, calm down.
And see, in that timeline, you just don't know what happened to Clover and Tomoya, and you don't know what happened to Luna, so it's not a very satisfactory ending in that timeline.
We don't even know if she was killed.
Then what happened? An accident? You think a scalpel just dropped from the ceiling and stabbed her?
Cool it, kid.
You did it, didn't you?
You nuts?
Then who did it? Who?
Clover, even if we assume that she was murdered, it doesn't...
Wait a minute. You went into the AB room with Alice during the last round, didn't you?
The question here is, how does Kay's story really affect anything? Or is he just an unimportant character in a red herring? I think he's an unimportant character in a red herring, which does make a very good argument that Kay could have been eliminated from all the timelines and not that much would have changed. You could have easily merged Kay into Tin Miyoji as a character.
Something happened in there, didn't it?
No, nothing happened.
Don't lie to me! There's no way Alice would just run off like that! She wouldn't leave me! Something happened! If she was going to leave, she'd tell me! She...
Hey, Clover. Don't you think just assuming Alice was murdered is jumping the gun a little bit?
How can you look at her and say that? Scalpels don't just stab people all by themselves! Oh, I see. I get it now. You're all in on it, aren't you?
Yep, that's right.
It wasn't just one killer. It was 6.
Conspiracy.
No wonder you're so anxious to say this wasn't a murder.
Clover, please, just settle down.
Fine. Show me some proof then. Prove to me in 10 seconds that you didn't murder my friend, or I'm going to kill every last one of you bastards!
And the game just ends here, so you don't get to see how she was actually going to manage to do that, but she might be able to do it psychically, although if she did have the ability to psychically kill people, it feels like she should have done that in other timelines. She might have some kind of training or weapon on her, but once again, that's if that was the case, she didn't use it in any other timeline.
You're all going to die just like she did!
Hey, hold on a minute.
9, 8, 7... Clover! 6, 5, 4... Clover! 3, 2, 1...
And so we get the flashbacks and we can see some of the other revelations that we've seen before. Those infected by radical sins, 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide. Suddenly Clover moved. I leapt forward and clamped my hand around her wrist.
What are you doing?
Clover, listen to me. Alice wasn't killed. Nobody murdered her. She took her own life.
What? No. There's no way she'd do that.
It's true. She stabbed herself in the heart with the scalpel.
Right. Where'd she get the scalpel then?
Well,
I did hear someone come into the infirmary right after the AB game ended.
Was that before I showed up?
Yes. I got up to see who it was, but they were already gone. It could have been Alice.
So she could have taken the scalpel
Yes, I
then.
think so.
And see, this is another point where Clover's voice actor might have been better swapped out in the English version. It's just a little too whiny, a little too annoying. It's not. It's the truth.
Why did she do it? Why would Alice kill herself?
She probably didn't have a reason.
What?
She's been infected with Radical 6. That's what killed her.
But you just said she killed herself. Just tell me the truth.
I am.
Prove it. Your 10 seconds ran out a long time ago. So if you don't have any proof.
So how am I going to prove this? I do. I have proof. There was a journal in the lab, wasn't there, Kay? Show it to me.
Journal?
Would have been in the safe.
Well, Alice would have it then.
Why, can you? I don't feel right touching a dead woman's body. Could you take a look?
Sure.
Alright, so tell me where on Alice's person is she hiding or holding a journal? With a skirt and no shirt and a jacket that almost certainly doesn't have any room for pockets. Her hands barely shook as she quickly searched through Alice's clothing. It was only seconds before she stopped. Slowly and carefully she drew something out. They don't even say where it was. There it was. The journal. If I turned to hand it to me, but I shook my head. You read it. It's in Latin. I can't make heads or tail of it. She cocked an eyebrow at me and flipped the small book open. When she looked back at me with both suspicion and surprise.
Yeah, it is Latin. But translating this is impossible. It's full of words I've never heard before. I can barely understand any of this.
Page 216. Turn to page 216. You should be able to read that one. Vi's frown deepened, but she did as I suggested. I watched her eyes quickly scan the pages before looking at me with renewed suspicion. So, we still haven't opened up a new path on this.
Yeah, I can read this page.
What's funny is this puts so much suspicion on you that you might get this ending, but it doesn't matter. You're still probably going to end up dead.
How did you know? No, wait. How did you even know there was a journal in the lab?
I just knew.
Just knew. Come on.
Look, just read it, okay? Clover wants to hear what it has to say, right?
Yeah.
Right. Give me a moment to look it over.
After a few moments of whispering, I would feel like Clover would not really believe Phi anyways, with it being in Latin. It's just all so convenient where your proof is not readable by the person who needs to see it or demands to see it. After a few moments of whispering to herself in Latin, Phi began to translate, paraphrasing the contents of the journal. Radical 6 reduces the processing speed of the brain by a factor of a root of 1/6. This is old information, but we haven't heard it in a while. One of the symptoms of Radical 6 infection is an overwhelming urge to commit suicide. Research has shown that it would probably respond to the right sort of antiviral medication, but no one has been able to develop one yet. Nearby towns are filled with corpses of people who took their own lives. The uninfected have only barely managed to survive and have been sent to underground shelters supervised by the government.
Oh Lord, please, let their future be a bright one.
Yeah, and this brings back the whole time travel concept, certainly, that makes it very questionable. It's like, at what point is all of these events happening at? Because the journal says no cure has been found, then we find cures, so it's very confusing. And look, it actually literally shows you under the bed that there is no bomb. Interesting. A sickly silence drifted throughout the room. The newspaper article, the recording, the conversation with Timoji, and now the journal entry. There was no more hiding from the truth. The pandemic had already happened. Sob. I don't know if the game really needs to make me press A to move the story forward while she's sobbing. All of Clover's rage suddenly dissipated, and she collapsed to the floor, tears pouring down her face. None of us had the heart to say anything. For several long moments, the only sound in the room was Clover's sobs.
We've got a problem. It's almost time for the primary doors to open.
Yeah, which primary doors even? That's the question. Did we even make it to the third doors? Apparently we did, and in this timeline we didn't even... Dio hasn't even planted any bombs, so maybe he thinks that the AB plan of Zero's is not even gonna succeed. Yeah, only 10 minutes left.
Sorry, but I'll be taking Alice's bracelet. Vi and I won't be able to open the secondary door without it.
So she was a magenta pear, just like me.
Just now noticed that, did ya?
As she spoke, Dio grabbed the bracelet off the floor and dropped it into his pocket.
What color is your bracelet, Luna?
I'm a cyan pear.
You are part of Clover's pair then. That means the two of you will need to come with me.
I guess so. Come on now, Clover. We need to go. Alice would want you to survive, wouldn't she? You'll never be able to figure out why all this happened.
And see, this is all new content, but
Please.
I still want to kind of just press A and rush through it.
Right. Alice, I promise I'll find out what happened to you. I'll figure out who Zero really is. I mean, if you'd never been locked up in here, you never would have... This never would have happened. So it's like Zero killed you. I promise. I'll avenge you.
Clover stood up and rubbed her hands roughly over her eyes, smearing tears across her cheeks. Then with a determined frown, she strode out the room.
Alright, we're out of time. Move, people.
You guys head on down to the floor B warehouse. We'll catch up with you later.
Alright, Quarks got the yellow bracelet, which makes him your partner, right?
Can't exactly leave him behind.
Without him, we'd end up stuck in that AB room. Okay, let's go. We'll see the rest of you once you pick up Quark. Why would you be stuck in the AB room? I think they mean stuck. We wouldn't get through the secondary door. That's what that meant to say.
Until we meet again.
Because yeah, this isn't taking them to... They're not going to the AB rooms to vote. They're going to the white doors, aren't they? Why is he going to the infirmary?
Quark!
Quark is awake? I don't think we cured him in this case.
Yeah, I just woke up. Hey, where's everybody else?
Oh god. Quark.
Timoji's entire body shook with emotion as he drew closer to him. He cautiously laid a trembling hand on the boy's shoulder, almost as if he was afraid Quark would disappear in a puff of smoke the moment he touched. When Quark proved to indeed be corporeal, Timoji let out a cry and threw his arms around him.
What's wrong?
Here we have a custom animation. A very awkwardly drawn hug. And then this really highlights a lot of problems. Like side profile images aren't that good. The 3D models once again are not that good. The giant helmet that he's wearing is totally in the way and would be shoved several inches into the chest of Timoji at the moment. Timoji as a character also from a side looks way too skinny, even compared to Quark. Quark is way too short, so the hug definitely looks awkward.
Are you okay, Grandpa?
Like,
nothing.
the way they animate this would have been to have him drop to his knees so that they were at the same height.
Nothing's wrong. I'm fine.
Quark gave him a puzzled look. Timmy-LG didn't even notice. His face was a mixture of happiness and relief, and I could see tears twinkling from the wrinkled corners of his eyes. All the traces of his usual gruff stoicism had vanished. Big words. I didn't want to interrupt such a happy reunion, but we were running out of time. Still, Timmy-LG deserved a few minutes. Left him alone. At last, Timmy-LG seemed to recover and shifted from the embrace to a protective arm around his shoulder.
So, how are you feeling?
Feeling? Well, okay, I guess. Was I sick or something?
No. You're not sick.
Did we get the cure to him in this timeline? Let's see. Blue door would have been the pressure center. When we have somebody would have had to go into the laboratory to get the cure. I don't think we did inject him with the cure in this timeline. But maybe we did.
If you feel fine, then you're fine.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I should never have gotten you involved in all this.
What are you apologizing for?
Sorry.
You're doing it again. Are you sure you're okay? So, where's everybody else?
This is another voice actor that you have a kid character. The voice actor's got to sound like a kid, but also that just makes him sound annoying.
Mr. Sigma's here, but he's just been standing there looking kind of silly.
I gave him a nervous smile and explained that about the white doors. I got the feeling Timmy-LG didn't want Quark to know about Radical 6, so I avoided any mention of it. Elsa's death was something also left for later.
Okay, that makes sense. That means I'm on a team with you guys, right?
Right.
So, these white doors, when are they gonna open?
And, well, we've got about 4 minutes until the primary doors open.
Oh, that's not good. We need to hurry. Come on. How do we get to the floor B warehouse?
Okay, we're going.
Follow me. So that was supposed to be a touching reunion, and frankly this game story is too frustrating and not well written enough for that to really have played off as a real touching reunion. Particularly when you balance it out with the 6 to 8 other times you've seen Dio just be an annoying character and try and kill himself, and you have to knock him out or put him in a treatment pod. If that was all the story that there was going to be, they could have just had Quark killed early in every story just to eliminate him. Yeah, his name's Quark, not Dio. So they open. And we may very well actually get through the door here. It would be hard to believe
Doors have opened.
that somebody doesn't make it through.
5 minutes remain until chromatic doors close.
You're late. Where the hell have you been? Quark?
You're awake.
And fully recovered, apparently.
See, the only thing I could think that would happen here to end this story is that we go through this door and Quark reveals he's Zero and he kills everybody. That's the only thing I think that could end this timeline. Otherwise, we're just gonna unlock more story.
I am also relieved to see you well again.
Me too.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
I looked out at the others from behind Quark and held a warning fingers up to my lips. There were a few momentary raised eyebrows with some nervous coughing as everyone suddenly fell silent.
Huh?
From Quark's perspective, it must have seemed especially odd.
Anyway, there isn't any time left. We need to hurry.
But there are 3 doors.
Yeah, which teams go in which door?
All of the doors are identical for this round. I believe it doesn't matter which team uses which door.
Then we're taking the one in the middle.
Why that one?
You want a kill shot, you aim for the center. You're more likely to just miss the extremities.
That logic is flawed and more than slightly disturbing. Unfortunately, I don't really have a counter-argument, so center door it is.
I suppose we could go with the one on the left. Is that okay? I mean,
Sure.
we could go with the other one if you want.
Kay and Clover only nodded.
Well, there's only one left.
The door on the right.
Any objections?
It'd be really weird if
Alright,
somebody
let's
objected.
30 seconds remain until chromatic doors close.
And the only weird thing I could think behind these doors, besides it just immediately handing you the star cards and not really making you do a puzzle, would be if this somehow gets you on the other side of the 9 door.
This thing's gonna close.
I know.
A lot of extra dialogue.
We're going as well.
Right. Sure.
Come on, guys. There's no time to waste.
Behind you.
Let's go.
2, 1, 0.
Once again, counting down to 0.
Doors closing.
It could be that you go through each door and then there's a giant room that is like has glass walls between the centers so that 1/3 of the room has 1/3 of the group and the middle part of the room has 1/3 of the group and then the right part of the room has another third. And then you have to kind of cooperate while being separated but still seeing each other in one giant room. That would be an idea, but I don't know. See, it seems like it takes you in the same place. Well, this took me to the director's office. And I feel like we've done the director's office in... We made it to the director's office, but not as a actual escape room. What is this place?
Probably the office of whoever it is that's running this place.
It said director's office on the door.
So this might be Zero Senior's office.
Maybe. Or maybe not.
Well, which is it?
Why the hell would I know?
We should look around. If this really is Zero Senior's room, there might be some clues.
Yeah, you've got a point. Let's get started then. So we finally made it through a white door, which that opens up this path, which when we see that this is the director's office and this is the security office, there probably is only 2 other offices, 2 other escape room puzzles. Maybe one down this way, and then we still need a 3rd bomb to get down this path, and almost certainly that is the perfect ending. And we still need a code here. I feel like there's a decent chance we will get a code in this escape room that lines up to the passcode of solving the mystery of the 2-headed lion. We might also hit a to be continued point after we do this escape room. There could be a to be continued point here or here fairly easily, and then we might have to run back to this, which just is going to confuse the issue even more. That's lock number 2. That's lock number 3. If there is a lockdown that way, then it would have to be lock number 10 in total. I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't actually locks per se, but just points we have to type in codes. If we look at the archives, there's still about 7 things to collect. There's still 2 rooms with passcodes, and since we know this is one of them, there literally can only be one more room. So if we look at the secrets, is one page here and one page here. So we totally know what's up now. We're very, very close. Unfortunately, still not quite as close as I would like to be towards the end. Alright, that's going to be it for this recording, though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.